What's up, guys? Welcome to the Player 2 podcast, a show where we chat to people who are in or adjacent to the gaming industry that we find genuinely interesting. Everybody's got their own story and route into the gaming industry. I want to know that story and the life lessons that they've learned along the way. This is the first episode we've released, and it was with Sonja Reed, known online as OMGitsfirefoxx. Sonja is a Guinness World Record holder, Forbes 30 Under 30 alumni, and was once upon a time the crown holder of the most followed female on Twitch. You may already know those things about Sonja, but what you may not know is how she got there, and that is what you're going to learn today. So please enjoy it and share the episode with anybody you think will find some value here. Did you used to set the podcasts up yourself when you did them?
So when I was doing it on Good Game Nice Try, a lot of it was over Zoom because it was COVID.
Right.
We had the idea for the podcast right before COVID, and then everything hit, everything shut down. We planned on doing it in the studio, and then we're like, well, we've already got the ball rolling on this. Like, let's just keep it. Zoom was the meta, I guess. So
did you just run it through Riverside or something? Or
what's that?
Did you run it through Riverside or screen record on Discord? Or how did you guys actually record it?
We each recorded our individual audio, and then we had like a production team that just threw everything together. Yeah. It's very nice, very lucky.
I suppose, though, as like a Twitch streamer, you guys get pretty technical and pretty savvy with it.
The amount of times, especially in like COVID Zoom era, the amount of times I would jump on a Zoom call and people are like, wow, your audio setup. Like, wow. And I've got all this like gamer lighting in the back and, you know, pretty serious. I got like a Sony something as a camera, and people are like, wow, you really took the Zoom era seriously.
You've got 10 years on them all, at least. Everyone's like, oh, COVID happens. I need to get a camera at home. I need to fix. They don't even know anything about lighting or audio. Yeah.
I'm like, bitch, I got 3 webcams. I'm ready.
It's just in the middle of a Zoom call, switching angles. Like, what do you want? Where do you want?
Here, up here. There's a camera here. I literally sold 2.
Why?
Because I had a couple extra cameras just for that reason, like different camera setups. But when COVID hit, everyone wanted webcams.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, shit, I got like 2 extra ones. Like
the price boosted. There was you remember the Biro, Logitech Biro 4K cam that came out?
Right. Yeah, the Brio.
The Brio.
Yes.
I'm dyslexic. And then I also had the
C920.
Yeah. There you go.
Classic.
That's what I started streaming with. I got into the streaming game very lightly, which did help me do all this setup. And you're right, the Zoom calls are definitely elevated.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the debate quickly.
Okay.
Because I think I certainly am not qualified in any way, shape, or form to talk about it. But
as a Canadian, I'm also not super qualified. However, we need a third option. Yeah. Mickey, run for president.
Oh, yeah, I'm in.
I think you could nail it.
I don't know what the hell I would do first, but
just start a big Reddit thread. Reddit thread. What do you guys want? Do a Reddit Q&A. Reddit AMA.
Actually, that would be great.
Yeah.
I'd live stream every day. I'm like, right, what are you guys talking about? What's the latest?
Yeah. Be like, I'm Mickey from Millhouse, streaming on Twitch. Just vote in the chat. Leave it up to Twitch chat to run the country.
What we should do today.
We did so good with Twitch Plays Pokemon.
Yeah.
I think we could run a country.
I honestly, I know we joke about it, but I think there's legs there. Like,
kinda.
They're starting to get a couple of streamers who are into their politics, and that's all they stream about. So I think if you ever did get back to the streaming game,
that's what I should do.
Politics could be the root. So let's not look at me here. I think we should look at you.
Wow. I never thought of it that way. I think that's my comeback. You know, I just set up a big sim rig setup, and I've been playing a lot of different games, but I like this angle.
Yeah, forget about the sim rig.
No.
Actually, no. Let's use it as a metaphor. Drive the country forward in the sim rig.
Do I have a campaign manager now? Oh my God, that was great, actually.
Thank you.
Okay.
As long as you're using Fanatec, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, which...
Fanatec, driving the country forward.
They're in all sorts of turmoil right now, so we've got to be careful.
Okay, I mean...
Yes, public. Corsair might be buying them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Another acquisition from those guys. So they got Scuff, Elgato, and then if they get Fanatec,
they've been making moves.
Yeah, I know.
That's really cool.
I've got to say it because Fanatec and I have got a very close relationship. We've always have done. But yeah, I've never actually tried any other equipment, to be honest. It's only Fanatec. You're on Logi at the moment?
Yeah. I was closely partnered with Logitech for quite a long time. Got a lot of their products, and I've used I actually started, it's funny, for how much I've always loved gaming and I've always loved automotive stuff, I never really played a lot of car games.
I noticed this.
My first car game I ever played was Blur for PlayStation. I don't know if you remember that. No, it kind of went under the radar, but it was super fun. But I never got into like Need for Speed. I never got into like early Forza or anything. But when I started to get more into automotive content and then I was still streaming more often, I'm like, why not? So then I got like what's the like big, I say the beginner Logitech wheel, but like the intro one, G something.
I know exactly what you mean. They've all got codes. The G920 or something.
Throw
like
some
that,
numbers and letters,
G940,
G in there for sure.
Exactly.
But it was a great like starter wheel. And then I'm like, wow, I actually wanted to take it a little more serious. So I got the pro wheel with the pro pedals and everything. And I'm just waiting to activate my 3-month trial for iRacing. And I think I'm going to get pretty into it.
I've never done it, but I know I would just ruin everybody else's races and I would get the mode. Because I always forget if you mess up, you start going the wrong way around the track, you're messing up other people's races. So I'm banned from playing Forza with the race service guys because I just troll.
You just pit maneuver everyone on the track.
Yeah, so we're not playing with Mickey because he's just going to bang us off the track. So,
okay.
Yeah, well, I'll take that punishment. I know that's exactly how I go. But
better virtually than...
True.
Yeah. Out there in the wild.
I don't do it out in the wild on purpose. I did have a crash in Sonoma when we were there.
Did you?
Did you not? I told you this. Did we not? We rear-ended a car.
No.
Did we not tell you?
What? No.
You know the night me, you, Alex, and then went out for dinner?
Yeah.
So when we were driving home from the track.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes. No, of course. That was a highlight of the weekend.
Yeah.
But I thought you meant on the track.
Oh, no.
And I was like, I need more info. But yeah.
On the track.
Yeah, you hit a family.
Yeah, I hit a family. They had a dog as well.
Yeah, you hit a family with a dog.
Everyone was fine. It was a very slow crash for the record. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's still going on. Yeah. I've done all my part. I've been a good citizen and accepted the fault and told the insurance companies. But I've found again this is what I would do. First act of president. Insurance companies don't have to reply to you for 2 years if you've got a claim.
What?
Legally, apparently, this is what I'm finding, is that in the system, if let's say I crash into yourself, right?
Okay.
I admit fault. I go through all the insurance and stuff like that. You've got to get the money off my insurance company. Mm-hmm. My insurance company legally doesn't have to respond to you for 2 years.
What?
That seems to be the case. Yeah. But luckily, it's just a busted fender at the back. So he's good.
Family was okay. Dog is okay.
Fine, dog was fine.
Everyone survived. It wasn't on track.
It wasn't on track.
That's what I thought you meant. Like you pit maneuvers on the track at Sonoma Raceway. I was like, I got questions.
I think again why if I did stream a lot and I was playing on sim games, it'd be too tempting to like where does reality start and the virtual games end? So
you can find out.
No, I don't want to be doing that. Are you actually sim racing a lot?
I'm finding excuses because I was traveling a lot for a little while, but now I want to get more into it. I mean, I have a full setup and everything. This weekend is the Austrian Grand Prix. So I've been playing a little bit on the Red Bull Ring. I've been trying to just play either F1 tracks that they're racing on for the weekend because it's fun because it gives me a little deeper understanding for like watching them race. Yeah. I think it's fun.
I think that's a good way of looking at it.
And then before we went to Sonoma, I was like driving the shit out of Sonoma. So anytime I know that I have like an opportunity on track coming up, I want to like, you know.
That's smart. Did that help though because obviously you drove Sonoma as well in the Skip Barber driving school. Mm-hmm. Did it make a big difference, do you think?
Yeah. Genuinely. Just knowing the layout of the track and trying to get cues of like when to brake, you know, what turn is coming up, mentally preparing where I need to have my line. Like it was actually really helpful. And it's crazy how much it can bleed into real life and actually help. I think the biggest thing is just not knowing the balance of the car, like not knowing when to kind of brake a little bit to get stability, or which you can learn on the actual track. But I'm excited to see a whole crop of people who do sim racing and then come into IRL racing.
I think it's going to be 100% of them, to be honest. I think give it 20 years, 100% of the F1 grid will have come from sim racing first, just because at the moment it's such a big barrier to entry and cost to go karting every weekend, and then level up after karting, it gets exponentially more expensive. And then, yeah, you're left with a very minute cohort of people who can get that far. Whereas now, sim racing's still quite expensive, but it's way more affordable. You know, a couple of $1,000 if you save up, you've got a very, very good rig that can replicate the real cars.
Yeah, that can give you a lot of cues and a lot of track knowledge, and it's crazy. I went to the Gran Turismo World Finals in Monaco a couple years ago, and shout out Ethan Lim. He is a super talented sim driver, and we got paired up for a pro-am, and I found out the pros are all the people who are actually in the tournament, like competing. The AMs, the amateurs, I found out weren't quite amateurs. They were also like very regular sim racers and like journalists and stuff like that. I'm like, shit. But he paired up with me and was giving me coaching, and just he's going to be, Ethan, I hope he gets into like coaching or something in real life.
Yeah.
But he's so phenomenal at talking through cues, breaking points, visuals, and everything. It was so, so helpful. And now watching him take that to the track, like actually driving on track, it translates super well.
It's
awesome.
Really
impressive.
Is he in a series now, or is he starting to drive on
I'm not
track?
sure. I know he's still, I'm pretty sure he's still competing in Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It is amazing. And you know Steve, Super GT, or not? We'll have to introduce you if not. So I used to just race online this entire career. And then he's about the same age as me. So he's like 31.
Oh, wait, what's his last name? Start with an A?
Steve Alvarez Brown.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I met him on that trip.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, he was in Monaco as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Steve, the first time he ever raced in a racing car was with myself. We were at Veloce, and Fanatec rang us. It was the first time I worked for Fanatec, heart of COVID. Like, can you guys get to the Nürburgring in 2 days, bring an influencer, and come to the Sim Racing Expo? And also, like, we'll give you some passenger laps and things like that.
And you weren't like, I know this awesome influencer named Sonja or OMGitsfirefoxx, and she wants to go to the Nürburgring. That wasn't your first thought, though.
We didn't know each other.
Anyways.
Even if we did, you were in California.
I'll fly out.
It was COVID.
I'll fly.
We had to forge COVID certificates and all sorts to get across the border in France. And we did like an overnight drive, me, Steve, and Alex.
Oh my God.
Who you've also met.
Yeah.
And it was a wild trip. But day one, got there. Thomas Yakima, who owns Fanatec, pretended to be trolleyed. He was like pretending to be really hungover, like still drunk when he met us, and was like, anyway, should I drive around the Nürburgring?
Stop.
We were like, okay. And he had this monster bus. I don't know if you've heard about the Fanatec, but the Vanatec, they call it. It's this green bus.
The Vanatec?
Green bus. It's incredible. Green bus. It's VW. They've ripped out the front console, made it a centralized cockpit. So there's one steering wheel in the middle with one seat, 4 passenger seats, all racing seats. They put I think I might get this wrong, but it was a GT2 car engine that they've ripped out of one of the Porsches and put in this bus. So it's just on steroids. And I've never been passenger lap in a race car ever.
Oh my
I've never
God.
been on a racetrack ever at this point. And he's like, oh, let's go. Like putting on an act to kind of like get us a little warm. He's like, oh, have you driven this track before? And he's like, once or twice.
Oh
so
my
it's like, okay.
God.
So we pull out on the Nürburgring, and there's like these cones that you kind of weave through when you come out of the car park, because that long straight is just like cancelled on the track days. And you just like weaving through these cones, and you get like the flag at the end where the guy's like, you can go. And he just put his foot down. Everyone was thrown at the back of it. It was like way weirder than any roller coaster experience I've ever had. Getting thrown around, obviously, like the undulation changes.
In a bus too.
But he was overtaking Ferraris, Lamborghinis, like eating up the track. He knew it like the back of his hand. He was stone cold sober, destroying us through this track. And that was kind of like, oh wow, we're at the Nürburgring. This is wild as an introduction. And then he goes, I've also got this McLaren and I've got this BMW. Let's do some passenger laps. So he's ripping us around. And Steve, never driven a race car in his life, only done sim racing. He's done like 24-hour streams where he raced them for charity. So he knew the Nürburgring like the back of his hand. He was like getting out of these passenger laps. Like, do you think he'll let me drive? And I was like, I'll ask him. Like, I'm more than happy to. So I went over and I was like, Thomas, you own Fanatec. He's one of your biggest Fanatec affiliates. He sells the most products. He's up there. would you trust him, never been in a race car, drive the BMW or the McLaren? He was like, no. I was like, well, then you're not backing your product. Really? Like, is it transferable? And he eventually was like, fine, Steve, you're doing a passing out with me and you're going to talk me through everything you would do and when on this lap. And he was like, yeah, okay. Came back 10 minutes later and he's like, okay, I trust him.
Fine.
He knows what he's doing. So comes out, an hour goes by and Steve's driving this BMW M2 competition spec thing. And
So fun.
they didn't come back for an hour. And we'd been told how bad it was. Like if you crash, it's 5,000 for every meter of the barriers you destroy. And they just didn't come back. And I'm starting to get a little bit sweaty. I was like, he's never driven a race car before. And eventually he pulls back in. Thomas gets out, biggest smile on his face. And he's like, he fucking crushed that track. He knew it like the back of his hand. He's overtaking cars with so much confidence to the point where he's like, I'm going to put him in a series. I'm going to pay for him to do a series. So he did. And that started Steve's journey to becoming a real driver.
That's crazy. And you know what? It just takes like a wild opportunity like that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And such a testament too. Like you're saying, well, you're not really, showing your product, how it translates. It does.
It really does.
It's crazy. I'm going to get on my sim game now.
You should.
I want to.
Yeah. You've got the time to put the hours in. You should do it if you've got the time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would say it
Now
to
that
anyone.
I'm here, finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about earlier. I had a lot of travel lately, and I know you've got a lot going on too. But it is sweet to just be home for a minute and feel like you can kind of hit the ground running. And projects that have been on the back burner, you're like, all right, I can finally like dig in. And
yeah, I know we were saying it's nice that we're in that position to be able to like look in many directions and choose where you want to go next. And I definitely want to get into that bit for yourself and where you're thinking, where you want to take it. But I would love to almost take it back to the very, very start as to how you even got into this game. Because correct me if I'm wrong, the early part was the equivalent of GameStop, but in Canada, which was EB Games.
yes,
Is that right? Okay.
yep. I was also at the place I was at the longest was a Canadian version of Radio Shack.
Okay. Which was called
The Source.
The Source.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't think there's many left. I don't think there's many more kicking. Does Radio Shack still exist here?
I don't know. It was Blockbuster for us, and Chips we used to have. Chips was our equivalent of GameStop, I think. And then you had Game. You have Game?
What? You have Game?
You never had the shop Game? Just big purple.
GAME.
Just Game? Oh, they like capitalized big on the likes of a GameStop vibe. Like it's the GameStop, but it felt way more premium than all of these chips and
Was it like the midway point between like a Blockbuster and a GameStop? Or
no,
what was
to me it was
like after that?
more elevated than GameStop.
Okay.
Like really cool branding. Felt like nowhere near Apple Store vibe, but
In the US?
no, it was in the UK.
In the UK.
I just assumed it was a global brand because they got it so right.
No, I don't even know what you're talking about when you talk about chips too.
Chips.
Who's Chip?
It was a little character that was a chip with arms and legs. That was like
He's
their
making
mascot.
this shit up.
I swear, and that was like GameStop.
Okay.
Chips was GameStop, and then went to CEX. But anyway,
I love that. Anyway.
That was your first job, or
No, I've worked like everywhere, which I firmly believe, and I'm going to say this directly, every single person should work retail at some point. Some kind of customer service, some kind of retail, some kind of like a host job. I feel like getting any kind of experience with the general public is so valuable for character building, for knowing how to navigate situations and conversations. I think it's so important. And I've worked a shitload of retail, a lot of different like phone shops. I used to work at like Rogers, shout out to my Canadians if anyone knows what that is. I worked at TELUS, again, shout out Canada. Home Depot, Lowe's. I've worked at a Children's Aid Society with foster youth. I've worked at a pizza place, Best Buy. I've kind of done, I've had a lot of random jobs. But at the time that I started streaming, I was working at Canadian Radio Shack and I was still taking college classes. I was trying to finish my degree for computer programming and I wanted to get into making games, basically. So my whole goal was to just kind of travel to different gaming conventions and connect with developers and be like, how do I do what you're doing? But yeah, taking college classes in the morning, working all day. And then I also was working, shortly after that, I started working at PetSmart too. So kind of in that era, I was either working during the day, taking college classes in the morning, and then streaming at night.
Wow.
It was like my way to kind of
grind.
like blow off steam. And
When did you hear about streaming? Like, what was the first, did you discover it on the internet, or did someone in one of the jobs say, oh, have you seen that this is now a thing?
so I mean, I've always watched YouTube.
Yeah.
Like I feel like since it started being around.
Like Charlie Bit My Finger and the Harry Potter Puppet Pals. And that was
classic. But in my midst of going to different gaming conventions and trying to connect with developers, I ended up connecting with people who are in the YouTube space and people who are in the Twitch space. And it kind of just became I would be playing League of Legends with them and they'd be streaming and they're like, the chat's like, who's this girl in the background? Who's this girl? And eventually they're like, why don't you try it? Like, why don't you just try streaming? So it was always the way, like I said, it was just a way to blow off steam. I moved out really early. I moved out when I was 16 and working a lot to pay rent at 16, 17, 18. And like,
well, you moved out of your parents' home at 16?
I was in the foster care system for most of high school, basically.
Wow.
From 11 until I moved out, probably closer to 17.
Wow.
I would have been kicked out at 18 anyway. So I thought I'd kind of get ahead of the curve and I wanted to be on my own anyway. Mm-hmm. So I moved out around 17 and yeah, just trying to pay rent and keep on it. It was a lot, but I've always been fascinated with connecting with people online. Like for as long as I can remember, for better or for worse, being in like old AOL chat rooms and RuneScape, just running into like random people on RuneScape. You know, I've always loved being able to connect with people all over the world, even like early Halo days. I played a lot of Team Fortress 2.
Yeah.
And the first clan I was ever in was called Stickies versus Rockets. And I played the shit out of Team Fortress 2. And having like this little group of people on PlayStation that I would regularly play with, it's just so, that's like early days of playing online.
Yeah.
And just having these people who are all over the world who I can just somehow connect with was always so fascinating. So streaming on Twitch and seeing people who are like, oh, love from Australia or love from such and like all over the world. It's just, it can look like just usernames when you're streaming. It's just random usernames,
and
but then you're like,
actually put it into like, this is a stadium full of people that are now like aware of who you are and watching what you're doing online.
Yeah. I think what blew my mind was so I started streaming and content creation and YouTube in 2013 and I grew pretty quickly from that. And shortly after, when I was on my way to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, I think I hit 73,000. And I'm from a small city in Canada and the population is 73,000. And I remember that moment being so pivotal of driving around my hometown, because I still lived in my hometown at that point, driving around my hometown and being like, trying to conceptualize it in my head, because I've really separated it of, oh, there's this internet thing and then I'm separate from that. But driving around and being like that person and that person, that like all these people know who I am, not like in my city, but when I think about it.
Yeah, if you condensed it down to that's the population, is like everyone you pass watches you. That is such a crazy way of thinking about it.
That blew my mind. And that I think at that moment I was like, okay, this could be something. Like, what the hell?
So that was like a motivator. That wasn't like a daunting way in any way, shape, or form. That was more like, okay,
yeah,
let's fucking accelerate this.
Yeah, this is shocking.
Wow. I've never heard anyone like describe it that way, but that's such a good way of putting it into perspective. I usually got the stadium route, like I did.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's how I hear people say it. It's like, oh, it's like the crypto arena watching someone stream. It's like, no, that's my entire hometown in quotations following what I'm doing. That must have been
so rewarding and motivating in a sense of like, I can't imagine. I'm sure you can go into it. It's like how difficult the early days of streaming were, and like, did you face any, right, when you're going live, were you nervous or anything like that? Or do you remember the first stream actually on that?
I don't know if I remember my very first stream, but I remember early days of like, I would have a like shitty old HP laptop that when I would try to play games, it would like burn my wrists because it was so hot and overheating. And I had my webcam stacked up on a bunch of sticky notes just so I can have it at a better view. I like really high class equipment. And I think because I had that separation and I didn't really think about, you know, it's actually people watching me.
Yeah.
I was very nervous at first. I remember some of my early videos. I think they're still up there if anyone wants to go watch them. Maybe not, but so cringy because I've never been on camera. I've never done anything like that, but doing, you know, vlogs and selfie videos and being like, yo, what's up guys? But almost trembling in my voice, like shaking and having to do multiple takes, calling myself an idiot. Like really it was really not in my comfort zone at all. I'm a computer nerd. I took programming. I imagine the rest of my life would be sitting at a desk and like making games and avoiding human contact. Were
you introvert when you were younger, do you think, or no?
I feel like I still struggle with figuring out what the hell I am because I had way more introverted hobbies. I love gaming. I love tech. I spent an ungodly amount of time just on the internet being a degenerate. But I also loved going out to the bar. I loved connecting with people. I loved hanging out and going to parties. And I feel like I'm still the same right now. Like I value my alone time and the power of saying no and declining things. Like even last night, I had a couple like invites to do something and I was like, I just need to not. Just need to be on. All I did was sit on the internet and be a degenerate. I'm back to my roots. But introverted extrovert, I guess. I don't know.
It's a bit of everything.
Yeah.
It's hard to bucket into one thing, I suppose, isn't it? Especially with nowadays. And back to the politics thing. Why bucket it into one thing? Why can't it be everything? There was a point you made, and I want to dive into. It's like your early days YouTube videos that are still out there. The way the internet goes, it's like this for anyone. Like I have Instagram posts that I've put out there, and I'll occasionally go through and maybe delete a couple. And then when I was thinking about it, I was like, it's almost like if I had the ability to tap into my granddad's Instagram or his dad's Instagram, and I would want to look at that. I'd want to go deep and be like, okay, who was Alf? You know, he was in a selfie of him in the mines, like just chilling. I would definitely want to see that. And it's almost like with the internet now, people in years to come are going to be able to go back, and there's more content and data on yourself than, I don't know, like an Anne Frank. Like genuinely, she wrote a diary during a very crazy time, World War II, but that was it. Just one diary extract, like one diary book. Whereas with yourself, you have hours and hours of what you're thinking at that particular moment, what games you're playing. So how does that like make you feel thinking about it?
I think I've been pretty back and forth, to be honest. Even thinking about early days of streaming, how much I would stream. At the peak of it, I was streaming. I mean, once I quit my regular job and I was making just enough money to cover my rent, and I saw it could actually be something. I knew if I quit my job, I'm like, I can just throw myself into this 100%. So I said, bye PetSmart, and I started streaming and doing content full time. It's like 6 days a week. So, I mean, sometimes 7 if you're, that's all I'm doing is sitting at home and doing videos. So I would stream almost every single day, anywhere from like 3 or 4 to 9 hours. Like I would do extended streams, and then I would cut down something from that stream. I would edit it. And then I would also I was doing a Minecraft series at the time called Maya Night. So then I would take a portion of that and upload Maya Night, and I would do a bonus video of like Call of Duty or League of Legends or something, and then streaming all day. So just the amount of content of just me and my life and just rambling and trying to fill like an 8-hour stream of space that's out there. It's kind of wild. I'll flip flop on. Sometimes I've privated like everything.
Okay.
I just private everything because I'm like, oh, it's so cringy. But then, like you're saying, but that's like that's me. That's how I started. That's where I come from. Like there's part of me in that still. You know what I mean? So I'll unprivate it. I'll go back and forth. It's out there if anyone wants to like watch early videos, but
Don't mean to take it morbid, but like let's say you're on your deathbed and you know your doctor say you got a week to live. What do you think about that content at that point? It's like, okay, I now have no more ability to change, whether it's private or whether it's all out there. What do you think you would do? Would you public everything and then grandchildren and so on can be like, that's Sonja or OMGitsfirefoxx. That's, you know, my roots, my heritage.
I'd keep it out there. Yeah. I mean, why not? I was listening to a really good interview recently. I'm going to completely blank on the name, but they made a really good point of when they were dealing with the grief of one of their parents passing. One of the things that they found most value in was interviewing them like a week before they died.
Wow.
And asking them mundane things from what's your favorite ice cream to when did you feel you had the biggest accomplishment in your life? Just a wide variety of things. And being able to have that moment with someone and getting a lot of stuff that, you know, is just lost in time and over time. I think that's super valuable. But yeah, not to take it super morbid, but
no,
yeah.
I think that's great. And it's locked in because then I think after somebody dies, it's impossible to kind of get fresh memories from them. And, you know, the way that my mind works, at least, often memories distort a little bit into maybe what you want them to be or what you think them to be. And then you're kind of like, well, what was the actual truth back then? You know, 10, 15 years ago, what was going on? So I think it is cool that you've got that. And I obviously found myself when I was doing a little bit of research for the podcast, I did go through like old school Twitch VODs and I'd never seen any of that content before. And I'm watching, I was like,
what stuck out to you?
This is Sonja, but the different styles you go through actually. Like the different.
It trips me out too, honestly. I was going through my Instagram. I scrolled like way back. I was trying to find a post for something and I scrolled way back and I'm like, the amount of hairstyles I've had and just the amount of content.
Yeah. It was it was an unlimited source. And it was like, okay, I've got so many avenues that I can go down. But yeah, hairstyles stuck out very clearly on all the thumbnails. It's like, wow, Sonja's changed up her style loads. They all look cool, by the way. But then one thing that I kind of stuck up on, which I thought was really cool, it didn't surprise me in any way, shape or form, but I did think it was something cool to dig on, is that you would do a lot of stuff for charity. You would do a lot of raising money for charity, which was great. And there was one particular one that I saw a clip of. I think you hit 20,000 as a team of you guys all streamed together and you threw loads of cake on your face.
People love the cake face.
Yeah.
People love that.
It's a good catharsis to end the stream on and celebrate. Cool. But where did that start for you? And, you know, where does your mind go when you think about raising money for? It was for a hospital for children, I believe it was at the time.
It's probably for Extra Life for Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. I've done a lot of stuff on and off with them. I feel like a seed of it definitely came from being in the foster care system and wanting to leave that place a little better than how I experienced it. So as soon as I got out of the foster care system, I started working closely with an advocacy group in Toronto that works closely with politicians to change laws for children and youth in foster care. So you can look it up. It was called Our Voice, Our Turn. We basically interviewed and got info from a bunch of different foster care youth all across Ontario and Canada and put together their stories. And then we put it in a book. We brought it to Parliament. We had a meeting like in Parliament and told them the issues that we're having and the proposed changes that we want to make. We want to raise, you know, we would lose funding for healthcare and for like dental and everything and medical at 21.
Wow. And
any supplemental funding that we'd get, like I'd get a small payment each month just to cover rent. And it's basically like, you know, what your parent, like living at home, basically, you're kind of supplementing that. All of it ends at 21. And you're in the midst of some of the biggest moments in your life in college and trying to find yourself and find work and get out there. So
I was still a child at 21. Like, and I know everyone matures at different ages, but I was extremely immature at 21. I would have been completely lost.
Yeah, it's exactly. So like we proposed to raise it to the age to 25 along with like a handful of other things. And I think just getting involved in the advocacy side of it. And then I worked at the Children's Aid Society that I was in, and I tried to change some of the systems that they had to make the lives better. I created foster groups so that they could go. We took them to laser tag. We went sailing just so they can bond and find people who they can relate to. Because it can be a really isolating experience. I created financial literacy courses so that no one teaches you. Some of the people didn't even have bank accounts. Like people don't know, and still now, like people don't know how to like manage their money, how to budget, like anything like that. It's not taught in school.
No.
So I wanted to give them kind of a leg up. But I think it's always just been a seed that's planted of leaving a space better than how I found it. And just wanting to leave, like, I don't know, if I can do things that can lessen struggling of someone else, like why not? Especially when I have such a big platform like that. Like why wouldn't I?
Yeah, I hear you 100%. And it's funny when you see a lot of these big creators who kind of don't. And I think the difference is likely if you've not been through it, you don't have the perspective to really understand it and why it needs the support it does, you know, whereas with yourself, actually going through it, you want to give back to that because you know how bad it can be. And I think that is often the biggest difference. If people don't understand how bad it is, they're probably less willing or even thinking about that to help it, which is a shame.
Yeah. And I think that, I mean, if people just saw how easy it was too, and how like giving people can really be, just again, it's the whole connecting with random people on the internet. There are so many people out there who could spare an extra $100, an extra $1,000. Like there's people out there who just like want to help. They just have money in the bank and they're willing to support good causes. And I love Extra Life because they make it so easy with Twitch integrations. And they just make raising money online so easy.
Yeah.
So easy. And I think the whole Children's Hospital of LA, I don't have like a personal relationship with them. I don't have kids. I don't have anyone who's been involved with them. But just finding a local children's hospital that was in the Extra Life bucket, I went and I volunteered a couple times to like hand out coffees to people and just see what they do on the ground at the hospital. I got like a full tour and just seeing the care that they put into like every nook and cranny. The way that they have things painted, they have the desks for nurses like lowered so that kids can go up. Like they put a lot of thought and care into the hospital, and the money that they raise also goes towards alleviating financial hardship on the families. Like they just put so much into it that I'm like, it's so easy to do. I have a big platform, and like, why not? You throw a cake in my face, like, and play video games. It's so easy. Like,
That's so good.
More people should do it.
Yeah. And you had a really good squad that did that with you, it seemed, from when I was going through the history of it. And there was that one particular stream that I watched. It was yourself and a bunch of other females. I believe it was just females that were streaming for that one that I watched.
Yeah, it was 3 of us.
Did you find yourself, as once upon a time, the leading female creator on Twitch? I'm actually curious. Saying that now, how does that make you feel? Like you were the largest female creator on Twitch in the world.
That is kind of wild, actually.
That's nuts.
It is wild to think about. And especially now, since there's so many women on the platform, there's so many women in gaming, and how much it's shifted over the last, I've been streaming like 10 years. So how much it shifted over the last 10 years. It is wild. It is wild. And I remember at the time, it wasn't even something that I cared about or was paying attention to. I knew that I didn't pay attention to the female aspect of it. I knew that I was out of like the top 100 most followed streamers. There was maybe like a handful of women in the 100. And then in the top like 25, I was like the only one for a while. And I remember I was on my grind. I was streaming like 6 days a week, and someone came into chat and was like, oh my God, you're going to pass Kitty Plays. She's another amazing streamer. They're like, oh my God, you're going to pass her in followers. Like, oh, that's so crazy. And I was like, like, it wasn't something I was thinking about. And then people, I felt like were starting to pit us against each other.
Right.
And I don't know if she felt like this at all, but I felt like people were like, once I did, people started to not like villainize her, but were starting to pit her against me. And it felt very competitive in a way that I didn't care about.
Yeah.
So
it's not important. It's like you want to rise all ships with the tide.
So I started to stream more, and I did get competitive because I was like, okay, it's something I care about now. Like maybe I should care about this. So I started streaming like more often. I started like really pushing it. And then at the end of it, I was like, well, I don't care. I was like, it's a really cool achievement. And I'm like, it's wild to think about and conceptualize now, but at what cost? For me to feel like I need to beat out other women in the space and like do better than that or have more followers than them. Like, I don't give a shit. But I love how I feel like maybe it's changed now, and especially in me personally, in my mentality and my attitude is like rising tide, raises all ships. And like, there's no room for that competitive, like pitting women against each other. And it's just not necessary.
Unless I would like kind of counter that, unless you guys have colluded and you're behind the scenes like, let's do this. Like I don't know, you'll remember the T-Series PewDiePie.
Yeah.
Like that scenario just blew them both up even more so. Cause like T-Series would have been relatively unheard of in the West. And then you had people who were like, I don't want to see PewDiePie win. I'm going to go subscribe to T-Series. And then vice versa. There's
a lot of big brain activity happening with content now and with strategy now. I think there's a lot of fake beef. There's a lot of, behind the scenes, hey, if we do this and set that, you know what I mean?
But there was none of that.
No.
It was just...
Well, maybe I wasn't involved in it, but I don't know. I don't know.
You open up your DMs from years ago and you went like loads of unread messages. Like, oh shit. So when did that switch like happen then? When you realized you're like, okay, you go from being competitive, which is very natural. I used to play Quiz Up and I was the best in the country at Harry Potter.
Play what?
Quiz Up. So it was just a quiz app where you would get pitted against somebody else who would ask you a question about Harry Potter or whatever your topic was. 4 choice trivial answers. And whoever hit it the quickest, the right answer, got more points. And while I was working my first job at Nissan, which I hated in the office, I was playing Quiz Up under the desk. And I got to number 1 in the UK on Harry Potter quiz. I was like, I want to be best in the fucking world and just going for it.
Oh my God.
So I get it. Everyone gets competitive. So when that competitive mode kicks in, I think it's, like you say, it's easy to kind of forget about what it's for other than just being number 1. When did that switch happen when you're like, I actually don't care about this. I just want to have fun and live my life doing something I enjoy. And when did it turn to being like, okay, let's team up as females? Like when you did the charity streams, like I think that's the best way to take it. But when did that switch for you?
I think it was shortly after that, after I, hit the Guinness World Record, and then in the same year made the Forbes 30 under 30 list, and a lot of accolades that I, a lowly internet degenerate foster youth, never thought I could achieve in my life or get close to. I think it was after that I'm like, okay, now what? And then I realized that even if I was second most followed, even if I was third most followed, and I still was on my grind and I was still consistent and I still was passionate about what I was doing, like there's still doors that can be opened. Yeah. There's still opportunities that are going to be there. My community is still there. Either way, if I'm number 1 or not, it doesn't matter. And being able to separate that, I'm like, I can kind of just do whatever. It doesn't matter,
Yeah. Having that community, I think, to me, seems from the outside looking in, because I obviously don't stream. I don't have like a community in that sense.
You should also.
I do need to get back. That's ready to go, to be honest.
Do it.
I used to stream and I had, community of like 10 to 30 guys.
Yes.
And I used to love chatting to them. But it's such a reward being able to tweet out to a community of people and say, all right, guys, give me some movie recommendations. And you get 100 people reply. I actually wrote one of these down because you used to do that. And your first tweet, by the way, just while we're on.
My first tweet, period.
Do you remember what it was? Or it's the first tweet that you haven't deleted. If you have deleted
Okay, I have deleted a lot because I had an account before I started streaming.
Right, okay.
And that was the OG, but yeah, some are deleted now. But anyway.
Yeah, the first tweet you've got on the current one is sorry. I has a food baby and I'm naming it La Sonja.
This is quality content. You can see why I have, the audience I do, right? With quality content like this.
That was good. But yeah, the thing with having a community is it kind of works in a lot of ways. If you're down, you can lean on that community. So you did tweet out once, I'm a little sad today. Can you send me your best memes? Thank you. And you had 173 replies to that. So like not many people have the ability, if they are feeling down, to lean on a massive community to be like, okay, lift me up. Like, so that's great. And then on a juxtaposition, you have the power to, if your community is feeling down, obviously it's harder to gauge when that is, but when you're feeling inspired on something, you can tweet out, something like your job does not define who you are in 2019 when it was just about going to the new year. So how is that feeling to have that community following to lean on when you're bad and also to lift up?
I think realizing, I haven't been streaming as much lately, but realizing that I can go 6 months without streaming. And then on a random Tuesday at 5 p.m. randomly, I can decide, hey, I'm going to go live. And the fact that hundreds of people will still show up for some fucking reason is still mind blowing. And knowing that I've streamed so many times when I've been having an awful, awful day and I didn't want to stream and I was really struggling just to press like go live. But as soon as I do, it kind of melts away. And knowing that I have like the support of people and that distraction is unbelievable. And I used to end most of my streams by saying that if you're having, or if you want to be, I would always word it as if you want to be an open inbox for someone. And if you want to have someone reach out to you and be open to like talk to someone, like put a heart in the chat. And if anyone is struggling, if anyone's not feeling like if today's shitty, or if you have like a meme that's burning a hole in your pocket and you want to like connect with someone, to click any of those people. Like
That's
look
awesome.
at any of those people that are there and you can talk to them. I think it's kind of like a little insular part of what we were just saying, where I'm trying to connect the community that's given me so much on days, because I know the power of having an audience like that to be able to support you and to kind of turn it on them and be like, you can support each other too,
That's awesome. And I don't think a lot of people will think that way. Just being in the chat, even, as a streamer, you are isolated. You're in the room by yourself streaming. As a watcher, you're in the room by yourself watching. And I think that's a really big skill. Not only the ability to entertain those people on a one-on-one, but then to bring them together, I think is a next level that a lot of streamers can't actually hit or never unlock. So that's really cool to hear you say that. And you're right. And if they've managed to help you feel better about yourself, they can definitely help other people and almost have more time, a lot of it, than you do, an ability to actually DM them. Because as the influencer, you can't DM 700,000 people and keep tabs with all of them. Whereas they can lean on each other and make friends within the community. And I know that happens a lot of the times. It's like you'll hear people saying, oh, we became boyfriend and girlfriend through the Twitch chat.
I've had that happen. It's crazy. And then, like, again, I won't stream for a minute and then I come back and people are like, oh, I remember you, like, to another person in chat. And just having that, it's so cool. And it just goes back to my love of being able to just connect with people and like connecting people. I think it's just so, how fucking cool that you can just hop on to this silly little electronic box and just connect to something in the ether and meet people who will change your world.
That's unfathomable.
Unbelievable.
Really. Where do you think it is now? Because I know you don't stream that often, like you say. You'll jump on, you'll find the need every 6 months or so. What is your view of the live streaming industry now?
I mean, it's massive. It's huge from where it came from. I feel like I would go to gaming conventions in 2015 or so, and parents would be like, how does my kid do what you do? Like, that's all that they talk about. They just want to be a content creator. They want to be a streamer. But then I would go into like some kind of a business meeting and I'd have to explain what I'm doing. I'd have to explain, like, yes, I sit in front of a camera on a computer, and yes, people watch me play video games. No, apparently they don't think it's boring somehow. I don't know. Like, really trying to make the case for streaming, but now you don't have to. Now it's so widely known. I can jump into conversations with people and be like, oh, do you know Twitch? And people will understand. And the fact that not only is there other competitive, like there's Kick, Facebook gaming, I don't know if they do that anymore, but like there's other people who are putting their hat in the in the ring.
Started. Yeah. Obviously they've seen a lot of their market share go watch people live on Twitch.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, we got to do the same to keep that there.
So I think having like the healthy competition is really nice. And they again, just the amount of people. What I think is most exciting is the variety.
Yeah.
How it started on Justin TV of like a Wild West. People are live streaming all kinds of shit. And then we kind of honed in on gaming for a little while. But now, like, I'll pop in. There's this guy who live streams drag races like twice a week. He's at some random place in like Midwest US. And he just is standing at drag strips and like just shows cars and does cool stuff. Or I'll run into like someone who's doing pottery and they just want to chat while they're making pots and like doing their thing. It's like the amount, and I love people like Jake and Bake who are IRL streamers, and he's doing stuff all over, like showing people a different side of the world, like live streaming in China and like all over, and just, you know, whatever he runs into, restaurants and stuff like that. Like, it's so cool. Joey Chaotic, like people who are just on their live stream game IRL. Like, I'm excited at just the breadth of options, and I think it gives people a lot of opportunity to just jump into stuff, you know?
Yeah, it's funny you say Jake and Bake, because I met Jake and Bake while he was live streaming. First time I ever met
my
him,
God.
Didn't know about
Wait,
him.
where?
In Amsterdam.
Oh, fun.
And I'm sitting having dinner, and I can't remember why he came over to the table. We were like sitting outside on a restaurant up spilled out into the street, and he was walking past. I think the time we were delivering Lando Norris's Logitech wheel to TwitchCon to put it in the Shrine of Legends. And I think I had it out on the table. And he must have been like, what are you doing with this steering wheel? And he was live streaming, and we had a bit of chat, introduced each other to one another. And then he went on and did his thing. And I was like, oh, I don't know who that. Didn't know how big he was. One of my friends was watching Jake and Bake's live stream and just texted me and was like, you've just been on Jake and Bake's live stream. What are you doing? And I was like,
God.
Who is he? And then I checked it out. I was like, oh, that guy was fucking huge, just wandering around. And it's amazing how little production you need. Whereas back in the day, you know, for celebrities out, you see like massive cameras following them, huge light boxes to make a set and get the movie up and rolling. Now, let's just take your phone if you really wanted to, and you can reach thousands of people. It's so wild.
It's so exciting that, like, if you are a creative who just has fun ideas or like something, you know, the ease of entry, like the ease of access into doing something like that now in 2024, you have so many options if you're ready to commit and you're ready to jump on it.
Yeah.
You have so many options. You can start live streaming something you're passionate about on Twitch, and then you can cut it down and put it on YouTube Shorts or TikTok, or like, you know what I mean? You can proliferate things, have your community in Discord as like a central hub. Like, you have so many options.
We're so fortunate to live in this time. Whereas if you go back 2 people ago, you've got really like 1 or 2 routes.
I also love how you do the same thing as me, where it's like, how many people ago is that? Yeah. Like, I don't know, like like not even generations, but people.
It's just 2 people ago.
Yeah.
That makes it sound so short though, because it is. Like how old the earth is and how long people have been on the earth.
The grand scheme of things.
2 people ago, life was shit compared to what we've got. And I know a lot of people are always like, oh, we're living in the worst time ever. No,
we're very blessed.
I can order a pizza with my face and it will turn up to the door.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of bad things going on, but also where we are in the world is very blessed.
So fortunate, especially living in the West. We're very fortunate in the sense that, you know, we don't have our lives being threatened very often. So you can just kind of go out and live your dreams. And I do think still, like, even my parents, and I remember not too long ago when I started leaving what I was doing, because I did the very traditional route of go to university, get a job and stay in the job. And then luckily,
What
I
did you
wasted a lot of
study,
time.
by the way?
I studied corporate management. It was basically business management. And then finished university and I got put into the hospitality industry. Back to your point of I think everyone should do that. So,
Would you agree?
oh yeah. You're just getting thrown shit at you constantly. And then occasionally you'll see the humanity in a lot of people and be like, wow, like the contrast of how disgusting that lady just treated me to how well that lady's just treated me. Like you get every spectrum of humanity. I remember once I had a lady in a bathing suit out in reception, dripping wet, being in the spa, and come out into a public forum at reception, double fist banging on the desk, screaming at me, trolley drunk.
That's a grown adult too.
And she just said a racial slur to one of my members of staff on poolside and she ran off crying. And I was like, firefighting. And I was like, you can't say it as well. You have to hold your nerve to an extent. You obviously are blacklisted or banned from the entire facility. But it's like you've still got to keep a front and keep professional because there's other people around watching, and it's crazy to see what people can be like. But then, like I say, you'll get the nicest people going.
And it makes you appreciate them tenfold.
Yeah.
Like one of the jobs I worked customer service at a call center for a very large computer repair service.
Right.
And it was in Canada, but we were fielding calls only from the US.
Okay.
And the majority of the time, it was people who were told that they were going to have their service covered. And then they call and realize that it's not covered. And then they're going to have to pay more. So it was me dealing with angry Americans with computer issues, trying to fix it, not understanding the computer issues, and then being told they're going to have to pay like a couple $100 on top of what they were.
Not good.
You find the best of the best, but it makes you appreciate the people who are going out there with a sense of empathy, a sense of openness, a sense of understanding, and realizing that like, hey, I'm in a shitty position. Can you do anything here? How can we just like move past this?
Yeah.
In the least friction way here.
And I find it's funny, like I do find that people on the receiving end of the phone, like yourself, you often do have a leeway of how much power you want to distribute, right? And what you can do. And I think if people come at it aggressively, you're just way less willing to be supportive and nice back. And as a result, they're going to end up with a worse situation. Whereas if they just approach it with like, fuck, okay, I've got to pay this, no worries. What's the procedure? You might have, a little back pocket trick up your sleeve to be like, I can actually do this for you. Let's do it because you've been nice. Because you don't get many of them either.
Yeah.
And it was the same when I was in hospitality. I could upgrade somebody's room. I could give them free shit, but if
you're an asshole about it, if you come in with, I need to speak to your manager attitude, like it's not good. It doesn't look good on anyone. And the fact that grown ass adults act like that, I get sucked down. I'm still an internet degenerate and I spend too much time on Reddit. And the amount of like threads I'll fall down that are people who are on like, they have a seat booked and then someone tries to like steal their seat and it's their interaction with them of being like, oh, so like you're in my seat. And they're like, oh, well, I'm so sorry. My family's here and I just would you mind I got a bad back and it's like, you should have booked the fucking seat that you wanted in the first place. Instead of trying to guilt someone and then getting super mad when you don't get your way and kicking and screaming, like grown adults.
I had exactly that on my flight. I flew Spirit for 5 hours and I'm never doing it again.
It's not open seating, right?
Spirit?
No, that's Southwest.
No, you can book. I didn't. I don't care. I'm like pretty good at flying, so I just sit and read a book or whatever. But I'm never going to fly Spirit for more than 2 hours again.
That's a short leg airline,
it was
I would say.
5 hours to Detroit. I didn't have a place to put my book in the thing. There was no like holder.
So jammed.
So it was tough. But back to your point, the people in front had done exactly that. They had chose to sit next to their family and it became a whole ordeal of musical chairs. And it ended up being everyone sat in pretty much the same position, but after switching 5 or 6 times. And I'm sat directly behind this all going on. I'm like,
watching it go down.
There's no logic applied and you feel like wanting to step in, but then you don't want to be like the mansplainer going like, you sit here and you do this.
The micromanager.
It's wild how people can react. And like the audacity just to do it without asking on sitting in somebody else's seat.
Yeah,
is
so bold.
crazy.
So bold.
You mentioned
Don't-
Reddit.
Oh yeah.
So I know there's a lot of good things that come with streaming and building community. And I imagine, and I heard from other people, like I just mentioned, F1 Ellie is going to be coming on the podcast in the future.
She's amazing.
She's awesome. She's career-wise jumping all over the place, blazing all sorts of trails, which I think is fantastic. And I let her tell her side of the story if she wants to choose so, but she's encountered some negativity with being online and being so public. I would love to dive into if you've experienced anything particularly negative that you were willing to want to touch on. And so people that are listening and watching, maybe in the same position as you, live streaming themselves and dealing with something similar, or maybe even find themselves on the giving end of that negativity and can hear this and be like, oh shit, this is maybe not how I should be approaching things. When I was doing my search and a little bit of research, there's an entire Reddit just about you, for example. There's actually a lot. And then there's at least 5 Twitter accounts that are fan pages or whatever.
Interesting.
That can almost like tweet on your behalf with your brand attached to it and you have zero control over it.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, what negative things have you encountered and how do you combat them if at all you possibly can?
I mean, I think a lot of it is, I mean, the impersonation side of it is pretty big. If you can get verified on anything or if you have a way to prove your verification, it's kind of the least of my worries, but it can, I don't know. Not being able to have control over that and maybe people like misrepresenting you or something is also important. But
you get the scams like saying, hey, it's Taylor Swift. I've left my wallet in America. Can you Venmo me $100 so I can get to my concert? Have you seen those?
wait, I've sent her $500. She said she was in a pickle and I just wanted to help her. I have actually had, oddly enough, recently, I've had a lot of people go in my DMs and are like, hey, I just needed to DM you and let you know that I've been catfished by someone who's using your photos. And I've been in a relationship with you for over a year and they've sent money, like very involved. And I'm like,
damn, I missed out. Could have been getting money.
Well, actually, my real Venmo is this. So going forward.
But that's crazy. And you have no control over that.
No, and I've reported the accounts on Facebook like 100 times. I've got my friends to do it and they won't take them down. It's a whole situation. But I think besides that, like realizing one thing that was really important for me coming from such a like recluse lifestyle, internet degenerate lifestyle, realizing that, and one person I like to always point to is who's the guy who does GeoGuessr like really well?
Yeah. There's a couple. There's GeoWizard, who's one of them.
Right.
But then
I know.
Is it the guy whose profile picture is a smiley face, like the big like
I think
it's an emoji as profile picture. It's got like kind of like crazy spiky hair or
not crazy.
Okay.
He seems pretty well put together.
I don't think I watched that one.
Some guy who's really good at GeoGuessr. Like off of the fraction of dirt on the side of the road, he can say like, oh, that's Venezuela. Like
wild.
What you put out there and what you share is it's out there. And I've had situations where I used to go to a music, it was like a show that they put on every so often called Brownies and Lemonade. And they would have like a bunch of different artists come out, and at the end they'd give away brownies and lemon squares, and it was super cute. And like a lot of like my artist friends would go out to that. I was regularly going to that. And emo night, back when emo night was like way more popping in LA, I would go to a lot of local events. But then I realized I can't tweet when I'm there. I can't post when I'm there. And that's something that I adapt to now.
How did you realize? Did you realize that the hard way?
I've had people show up. I've had people like tweet at the venues asking like, when is it going to be over? Like, what time are people let out? And it's scary.
Wow.
Like I've also, throughout my whole career, I've had a couple of different stalking incidents that have made me take a big step back in what I share. And it's still to this day makes me very conflicted with what I share, when I share, how I share it, because it can be scary. I had a long standing incident in like 2015 2015 to 2018 where someone was looking at every single thing that I posted and trying to determine where I was. Like I was also dating someone at the time, like 2017 or so. And I like to keep things, some things are for me.
Yeah.
So I was not being very public about it because it was also kind of new. And I remember posting like a photo of like some billboard or something, and there's a reflection, and they saw that he was standing behind me in the reflection, and they were like, sent emails every day like, how does it feel to be you're fucking this guy and blah blah blah, and like just so angry and possessive. And then they would send my address, they would send his address. Like he was a musician, so he was at a recording studio often. So they'd be like, send the recording studio's address, his license plate number. I had people show up at my apartment building. They spray painted my name outside of the apartment building. Whoa. They like delivered flowers, like trying to get into the building. I've had a lot of like really, and like at events, I've had events where I've met people, which like I'm no stranger to. Like I'll go to PAX and I love meeting people, and I haven't like done it in a minute. Sometimes at like, when I was at the Indy 500, I ran into someone who's like, oh, I've been watching Maya Night for I'm like, oh my, this is such a weird collusion of worlds. But I'm used to meeting people out in public, but I've had instances where I've been followed and people will follow me back to my car. They'll follow, and I don't know if they're trying to follow to where I live or like, so there's had a lot of really scary incidents, and it's made me really take a step back in what I share. And again, how I share it, because I feel like a lot of people online can build like parasocial relationships with you.
And they know you so much better than you know them. You know them next to zero a lot of the time. And they feel like they're like your sister or like potential date. You know, that's wild.
And people don't understand that. They don't understand the separation. So when you meet them in real life, it's like you're saying, they know so much about you, and it's like, this is a stranger. Like I'm very welcoming. Like it's been 10 years. I've had some people in my community, people are resubbing for like 115 months, like something crazy, like really crazy. And I'm like, I've had people in my community for so long that they feel like family.
Yeah, and you don't want to approach it in a way of like because you know that and you respect that. So any interaction you've got, you kind of have to be open. Yeah. Because you've been so open online that when they meet you, I imagine you don't want to disappoint them. So you have to be open. And then if you don't know what their intentions are, and especially when you get like a taste of a negative intention from an interaction, then it's almost impossible to gauge, okay, how does this person want to interact with me?
And one thing I like to always consider is, and maybe it comes from retail, or maybe it comes from having experience like that, where I think of like the cashier approach, where a cashier day in and day out, like picture you're a cashier at a grocery store. Okay. You have so many people coming in and out, treating you in different ways, and you're on autopilot. You're just scanning fruit and throwing it in a bag and checking people out. And it's like, hey, how are you doing? Okay, good, blah, blah, blah. You experience like 150 people in that day. But to that one person in line going through the whatever, the cashier, that's the one interaction you get with that cashier. And being able to leave an impression, even when you're not in like your best state or you don't know how people are going to treat you, knowing that that's like the one interaction that person gets with you, like just by chance, you have to approach it from like a different, from a different way.
Wow. I don't even know how to begin to imagine what that's like without being in it.
I think it's something that people just need to consider. Like everything you put out there. I had someone where I posted, I was living in a house with like other gamers, and someone posted a photo from our back porch. And also, I think they were vlogging like a couple of streets over. So someone like deep dived and saw the street that they vlogged on, and then the photo of like where the trees were and different houses. And they found on Google Maps like where we live. And a couple of times people showed up. People went through our trash. People waited outside for one of us to come outside. And it's the parents brought them.
Wow. That's even weirder.
What the fuck?
how can
Parents,
they not
don't
get
do
it?
that. That's
Yeah, the parents should be educating them. It's like, no, these are not zoo animals. They're people.
right. So again, just be careful out there because people are crazy. People can be like, you never know what people's intentions are, especially when you cast such a wide net and you have like a really big audience. Like you just don't know. And not saying that there's people who aren't lovely. Like I've met so many amazing people who have, you know, changed my life as much as they say that I've changed theirs. Like it's unbelievable, but yeah, you gotta be careful out there.
Yeah, and it's a shame. It's like, it's always the same thing. Like one bad apple will ruin the entire opinion. And it's, like I don't know if you saw, but Holly Willoughby is a famous TV presenter in the UK. And it's actually been breaking this week that they've arrested this guy who'd planned to kidnap her and tie her up. And he was like filming everything that he'd got at home to use to kidnap her and all sorts. And obviously headlines can take it to like the extreme, and the headlines were saying that he was planning to tie her up, rape her, murder her, and like dump the body. Even the lightest of those intentions is ridiculous. And it's scary because it's now going to ruin interactions potentially for her meeting genuine fans, because it's like, whoa, what is the true intention here? That's
You just don't know.
crazy.
Like, it's crazy to think of the extreme, but the extreme happens.
So
The
you've gotta
extreme
be on
does
guard.
happen. I know a lot of people who, I mean, it's harder now in the world, but people who have been not only doxxed, but like swatted.
Yeah.
And like, that's scary as hell.
You know people who've directly who've been
personally
swatted?
who have been swatted.
See, from like, I know this is like bad to say, but when I see it, it's kind of like they become these viral clips that you just think of as like entertainment pieces, but you don't put yourself in that scenario of like, okay, you've got guns pointing at you. It's one of the, from distance is the worst things you could do to someone, right?
It is it's a scary situation to be in. And when it bleeds into real life, because it can feel like everything's so separated. Like I said earlier, I felt like I separated a lot of what I did on the internet without translating it into real life. And then I would go to a gaming convention and people would know who I was in real life. And I'm like, oh shit, like these are real people. And, you know, we talk about the severity of it and how, you know, maybe headlines can blow things up, but like it happens. The reality is that it happens. It's wild when it can bleed into real life and how your safety, like fearing for your safety. I had a very long period of time just when people were showing up to my apartment building and when people were trying to get in and spray painting it and stuff, where I was sleeping with Nest cams, like on my couch, outside of my door, outside of my balcony, like at 24/7.
That's crazy.
From my bed, I couldn't see my front door and it was freaking me out. And I had like a door jam and everything too, but I still like didn't know. So I was sleeping on the couch for like 8 months because I felt safe knowing that I would wake up quickly if I felt like the door was opening.
That's so sad that you have to live that way, like for a period of time. And I know, you know, a lot of people listening might be like, oh, that's what comes with it. That should not be the case. And anyway, you should never be in a scenario where you're worried about somebody coming into your own house.
It's a scary world. Like we've talked about it earlier, where like we're very, very lucky and fortunate to be in the position that we are and to accept a bunch of different opportunities and to have so many different avenues that we can take and be very, you know, very open and prolific in the creative pathways that we can take. But at the same time, it's like when you're fearing for your safety,
Yeah. It's like,
often,
yeah, at what cost is
it's a
everything going?
balance. And I think that's why, you know, again, I've touched on it where I've taken a bigger step back of I've been enjoying more of I love doing on camera stuff and I definitely want to continue doing more of that. But I have found a lot of joy in doing stuff behind the scenes, like doing a little bit more producing and doing a little bit more on stuff where I'm not putting myself out there as much. I still want to in a controlled way and in a way that I'm comfortable with. But I think, just being more careful of what I do.
Yeah, I think that's smart. And I think, like you say, there's a lot of live streamers now that you see that do the IRLs where they're just out freelancing around LA and it's crazy and it gets the most insane content, but they are now at the most risk as a result.
Scares the shit out of me.
Because you're just like broadcasting midday like where I am. I remember watching XQC on a live stream IRL, which he rarely did, and he'd gone to a skate shop to get a skateboard and take it to Venice skate park. And he was in the skate shop and the phone was ringing off the hook nonstop. And you could see the staff were like, why is this? And they would answer the phone, and God knows what the chat was saying down the phone. And XQC was like, don't answer it's not going to stop ringing until I leave. So you should just unplug the phone. And they were like, well, what is this guy talking about? Obviously, they didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
And put the phone out. Phone rings again. And he's like, please, I'm telling you, just until I've gone, just unplug the phone, because they're gonna stop. They're not gonna stop ringing, and they're gonna ask for me.
I just have to leave at that point. Like, oh my God.
But he stayed, and he just read it through, and he was like, I don't know why they're not listening to me. He bought this cable and went and did his thing, and it was cool. But you learn to mitigate. Like, he knew instantly. It's like, this is gonna happen. Whether you want to listen to me or not, that's up to you guys. And it's so crazy. And I know it can go negative, but I do want to now move it into the more positive light, and that the opportunities that do come up from not just this industry, just the concept of saying yes to things. And I know now that, you're more experienced with it, and you've got to where you are in life, and you have the ability to say no, and that's a big superpower. But I think when you're starting out, that ability to say yes is what really kickstarts a lot of people's journeys, and being less scared of what it can come. And you sent out a bit of a Twitter thread that I want to read out and kind of get your personal perspective of this in a little bit more depth. So you helped a random guy at a store at 2 a.m. who just moved to your hometown to find blankets because it's Canada and he didn't have heat. You kept in touch. He now has a room for rent in the house that you moved into, and my lease is up, so I moved in, and we're now besties. From there, he goes to E3. He calls you to say that if you can get there tomorrow, he's got an extra pass. And it's 2011, 2010 era. You're currently broke, working at a pet store, which we've established that period of time. You say, fuck it. I'm going to go negative into my account, skip work, take the flight the next day. That trip then changes your life and confirmed your feelings that the place in the world for you was the gaming industry, and you had a fire lit. And it kind of went from there.
Yeah.
So go into that concept and where you were there and saying yes to such an opportunity that seemed maybe so light, but then can have the butterfly effect to change your entire life.
I've loved seeing that trend on Twitter where people are like, what is the craziest example of your butterfly effect of one seemingly just innocuous opportunity, and you're like, okay, and you jump into it, and then it's led to something life-changing. And yeah, I was working at PetSmart. I was broke as fuck, and I was living in a basement apartment. My previous apartment got broken into, and I had to move out because I wasn't safe. So I moved into...
It just seems to follow you, man, before you were even famous.
So I moved into another apartment, which also got broken into, because it was a basement apartment, and someone just came in the window. They were just drunk trying to get in the building. It was kind of harmless, but also scary because I'm 18 or something. Anyway, so it was Canada, and yeah, I had a lot of anxiety. I was having a lot of panic attacks, and it caused me to drop out of high school a couple times. It caused me to drop out of college a couple, I had to take a semester off here and there. They were really debilitating. And I found that if I do grocery shopping there's a 24-hour store. If I would go at 2 a.m., there's no one there.
Yeah.
So I did my grocery shopping.
Wait, so your anxiety so bad that you wouldn't want to go grocery shopping
in public during the day. So I would do grocery shopping at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I happened to be at this 24-hour store. It was the only thing open. And this guy strolls in. I'm checking out. And there's a guy talking to the people at customer service, or one of the staff, saying that he just moved here. It's January in Canada, and he's looking for blankets because the house that he moved into didn't have heat yet. Oh, so he's freezing. Baltic. And they were kind of being unhelpful and not really. They're like, "Oh, we don't have any. It's a grocery store. What do you?" And as I grab my groceries and I'm heading out, I'm like, "Hey, I know a place that's open, and they might." It was Shoppers Drug Mart. It's the equivalent of a CVS here or something, but with a little extra. I'm maybe.
With blankets.
I'm maybe they'd have slippers or blankets or something. And I'm I can show you. So I drove, and he followed me, and I drove him to the store. And I'm hey, I know you just moved here. I've lived here my whole life. If you need anything, just give me a call. I'm I know the city the back of my hand. So if you need anything at all, let me know. Fast forward, we kept in contact. He's in the tech space, and I'm a big nerd, so we got along. And the moldy apartment, which I got broken into, my lease was up. And I'm like, I need to get the fuck out of here. And yeah, he just happened to have a room available.
That's awesome.
I moved in, we became besties. And then his friend works at Activision, and his friend was bringing him out to E3, which was like gamer paradise. Like, it was such a goal. I would watch it online. I watch live streams of the coverage and just seeing, like, for someone who wanted to make video games, seeing like the cutting edge of the video game world and like what's coming out was such a, it was gamer Christmas. Like every summer, it was so cool. And I remember watching some of it on like when I got home, and then I was working at PetSmart. He texted me and he's like, hey, I know how much you like love E3, obviously, and how much you would appreciated it. Yeah, if you can get to California tomorrow. I hadn't left, like, I've driven to Michigan before because I lived on the border, but I've never like flown to, I've never been to California. I've never like done a solo flight, period.
You had a passport and everything?
I did, because I live on the border.
Okay,
so
ideal.
I was back and forth often to Michigan, but yeah, he's like, if you can get here, it was like tomorrow or the next day. My friend's name could also kind of be taken as like more of a female name too. It was a name that could have been either or, like a Taylor or something like that. I don't want to out him, but this is like 10 years, like no one cares at this point. But Ether doesn't even exist anymore. I'm still protecting him.
Be like, whoa, we got to stop this man.
Yeah, the retroactive punishment or something. So because it was media only, like you couldn't. Although some people didn't know. Back then, you could buy a pass. It was $1,000, but you could buy a pass. But it was mostly media. Like, it was for media only.
$1,000 is expensive back then as well. Wow.
Yeah. So I'm working at PetSmart. I'm working for a food brand. I don't even work for PetSmart. I work for Blue Buffalo, like the pet food company. I was there for 4-hour shifts, and halfway through, I got that text. And I'm like, I mulled it over in my head, and I'm like, I kind of looked around the store and I'm like, am I really going to sit in this store and knowing that I could have gone to like the one gamer paradise and am I really going to miss this opportunity? I check my bank account. I have like $300. And I'm like, how the fuck am I going to make this work? So I just said, fuck it. And I booked a flight on my lunch in the break room on my phone. And it was like last minute. So it was like $650 from Detroit to LA. And I went negative like $300 in my account. And I was supposed to work the next day. I just didn't show up. I don't fully recommend this, but also like, what an opportunity. I rolled up, and as soon as I landed, and when I finally was walking up to E3, there was something in the air that I knew that was my space. I knew that I wanted to live in LA. I knew that I wanted to be in the gaming industry. I knew that I belonged there. I knew that this was what was going to be in my future, and I had to have it.
That's amazing. And that sat in on your walk up towards E3.
I mean, standing outside and just seeing like huge Call of Duty billboards, and like, they had, I don't know if that was the year they had the McLaren for Forza, some like Forza Horizon or Motorsport outside, like just all the glitz and glamour of the gaming industry, and a place where Twitch was still like unheard of. Twitch was like just new, or Twitch didn't even exist. It was Justin TV, but pre-Twitch, pre any of this. And walking in and seeing like a gigantic Nintendo booth and like a massive PlayStation booth, and then they had a bunch of retro games, like Atari was doing a whole thing, like I just couldn't have imagined. I knew that was it.
That's amazing.
I had to come back. And then I went back almost every year up until they stopped doing it now.
That's crazy.
It was just such a cornerstone.
Story, though. And especially like to anyone listening who is not enjoying what they're doing, or feels like there's a bigger calling or something they can do better for themselves, just to take that leap of faith. It's like, what's going to happen? Yeah, okay, you're going to run out of money. Your bank account's going to go in the negative. It seems like the end of the world to a lot of people on the surface, but better to do that than continue what you're doing and then get to 80 years old and be like, what if I'd gone to E3 that one year and it would have changed your life. Like you have to really follow those instincts, don't you?
I love I'm not going to say it because I'm going to butcher it, and maybe you can like fact check it or something, but that Anthony Bourdain quote that's like, you know, go do this, like take a trip, have a Negroni, have two, like really soak it in and leave yourself open for opportunities and leave yourself open for different experiences, because it can open new doors and avenues that you didn't even think. Like I was fully on track to, at the time, again, going to different gaming conventions. I'm like, I'm going to meet a developer. I'm going to be in an office just coding away. Like my dream was to move to Toronto and work at some gaming industry, like some gaming company in Toronto and in the big city, you know? And that was as far as I saw. Like
the E3 trip going. Like that was your step
pre-E3.
in that direction. Okay.
It was pre-E3. But then as soon as I took that trip, I opened my world a little bit more. I didn't think it would be possible, you know, coming from where I came from. I didn't think that I'd ever even visit Los Angeles. And then knowing that that was an option.
Yeah.
I think keeping yourself open to experiences and knowing that it can be an option. I think it's huge.
That's cool. That's so good. And you're right. And the options never change. I know we had a discussion about this before the podcast, about keeping your options open and how important that is, and not really knowing where you go and having like a bit of a sense of direction in life is important, but never having a dedicated destination in mind is so daunting, but also so fulfilling, because you can just take a turn whenever you want. And the destination is always going to be the same, and that you're just going to die, and you might as well just let the turns and twists go. And I do think that comes from playing video games from such an early age. You know, we grew up in a similar era, loving the Zeldas, you know, Majora's Mask, you know, those games that you didn't have the internet to look back on and be like, right, how do I complete this mission? Where do I go next? And as a child, I wouldn't read much, and I would B&A smash through any text box that came up. It's like, let me fucking kill shit.
And then you hit the owl.
Oh my God.
And then it just repeats
I'm jamming,
and over.
And it's like,
you're
do you want to hear
like,
that again? And yes is like the default. It's like, yeah, I want to hear it again. And you know, why is this going on for an hour? And it's like, oh, I have to hit no. I don't want to hear it again. But often I'd find myself with like a rough goal in mind. It's like, I've got to save the princess. She's having a bad time right now, but I don't know which way to go. And you just explore every avenue until eventually it's like, okay, I'm clearly on the right path here, because this is a new part of the adventure I haven't established yet. This is a new dungeon. And it's like, all right, that must be in the right direction. I think having a gamer lifestyle growing up really helps out with real life. As long as you translate it, as long as you step outside.
Yeah. And also just playing to your strengths.
Yeah.
Like, I think I'm going to, again, butcher this, but there's a Japanese concept of ikigai, where you find your, right? You get it? Where you find your reason for waking up. You find your North Star. And I think I'm still struggling with figuring out what that looks like long term, but I know my strengths. I know what I enjoy doing. I know what feels good when I wake up in the morning and I know that I get to do. I know it brings me joy.
Yeah.
I know it excites me. And I think just keeping myself open to opportunities that can bring me that, or that could lead me down a path. And even if it's like a tangent where, you know, if someone says, oh, I have this opportunity, but it's like not exactly what I was thinking, but it still sounds fun. Maybe the budget isn't even there. Like, it just seems like a cool opportunity. I'm not doing anything. Like, fuck it. I don't, you know.
Side quests.
Yeah. I love
Side quests are the
side
best.
quests.
I think Sonoma was probably a bit of a side quest in a sense, right?
Yes.
we didn't have any budget.
But it was fun as hell. And it opened the door to like Skip Barber.
Yeah.
Where I've always loved cars, like from high school. Got my license as soon as I could, got a car as soon as I could. And even though I never really got big into a lot of racing games, I just love driving fast. I
think because you did that so early and got into the cars, I think the games are almost a bit pony. It's like, oh, I've got a real car.
I just go out and do it.
Yeah. I think that's a big difference.
Maybe a little bit. But I do love like again, speaking on opportunities, since I started to do more automotive content, I got more opportunities in the car space of like, hey, do you want to come do the Lexus Performance Driving School? Do you want to come do the BMW M Performance Driving School? And I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to say no to that.
Exactly.
Like, I never thought that I would have those opportunities in my life. And it's crazy to hone in a new skill of something that I've just enjoyed so much. And like, there's no, besides like social content, like I love sharing it and I love posting about it and showing people like behind the scenes and saying like, hey, like this is something like if you're interested in it, like fucking go for it. Like you can do it. But there's no career like avenue, at least that I'm like planning. I would love to race. I would love to actually get into doing racing more. And like I just got my provisional license because of Skip Barber. Again, a side quest that like really paid off. Like that's crazy. Yeah. And I would love to do more of that and focus on that. But it's not something I ever expected. I never like set out to be like, I'm going to be a race car driver. But it's cool to know that like the door's open a little bit.
It's always open. I think that's the best way of putting it, is that no matter what it is you want to do, you have to envision that door as just a little bit open. And it's just then up to you to actually bash it down in whatever way you want to do that. A lot of people will just chip away at it. A lot of people will just feel like it's bashed down, but you got to prepare yourself for it. And it's funny when you say with the Ikigai, because that is a concept that as soon as I read it, I like to tattoo books. Like that means something to me. No, any tattoo I like to have a meaning, and then it means I can never regret them. So the first one I got is terrible, and I regret it. So from then on, I was
show the chat.
It's just like an anklet. It looks like I have an anklet. It's a bunch of different Japanese. It's just a bunch of different things in Japanese.
You've got a lot of Japanese on you,
which is kind of criminal that I haven't been to Japan yet. But the culture of Japan, like that, and the Nintendo 64, like really did forge who I am. Is a lot of Japanese origins. And then as I've gotten older and I'm reading a lot, I find myself leaning towards their culture, their ideologies, and so on. So the only Japanese that I've got is because it's either a saying that I don't want in public. Like I don't want someone to be able to read what that is, because that's something that I've put on and then I want it to stay there. I know someone could just zoom in and be like, what does it mean?
Someone's going to do it.
But it's like a Peter Pan quote that's like, I feel like if it's out there, it doesn't mean as much to me. It's more like, okay, I keep that to myself. Whereas these little books. But on the Ikigai concept is like, and I know you said that you're in a position where you're like trying to figure out what that is right now. I think it's because you seem to have already done it. And you're very fortunate in that sense of, you accomplished the streaming game so early and you started grinding from such a young age, which is very rare. Like a lot of people don't start life outside of their protective little bubble of their parents and their family and so on until they hit mid-20s sometimes, and sometimes never,
Fair.
There's films such as Step Brothers and 4-Year-Old Virgin that kind of indicate that.
Yeah.
But, being someone like yourself who's in the foster care system, you're almost forced to fend for yourself so much earlier, develop so much quicker, and then in the most fortunate circumstances, you're able to actually achieve career goals that people will never achieve in a lifestyle at a very young age. So
yeah,
I think there's an element of that.
Yeah, I guess I never really thought about it that way, but you're right. I think having to grow up really quickly and having to pay rent at 17 and worry about how I'm going to pay my water bill at in high school,
that's so mad.
I feel that's not a normal experience. And, trying to figure out how I'm going to pay for my own college and figuring out a lot really young, it really forced me to grow up really quickly. And I guess I never really took that into consideration with, putting one thing I think is really important is you can have all the opportunities thrown at you, endlessly. But if you're not ready to receive them, if you're not in a place where you're feeling like, I got this.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I can do that. Yeah, it'd be super fun. Let's try that. If you're in a place where you're unsure or you're not feeling the confidence in yourself, or at least the confidence to fake the confidence, or, it's harder to have those opportunities land and have it follow through. You know what I mean? Definitely. You have to leave yourself open to it in a way that, like I was saying, just having the confidence to do it. And I think growing up really quickly yeah, I don't know. Maybe it helped.
Yeah, and I find myself wanting to say to you, like, ask you, like, okay, how then do you prepare yourself in that sense? And I know from your point of view, very fortunate in a way, if you want to look at it this way, to have been thrust into adult life so early, because then you're forced. You have no choice but to be ready for those scenarios, which you'll have endeavored into being ready for things in later life. Whereas with myself, growing up, I was very confident in myself. I don't really know how or where. I think, maybe it's the way my parents have brought me up. Letting me kind of get away with murder as a rebellious joker as child probably helped. And then it went the other way at a certain point when I did step into the real world and then come back. So I naturally can dive into this part of me that's uber confident, and I can fake that confidence. How would you give advice to someone who can't, who doesn't have that naturally built in them? What is the route in your mind?
Do the thing.
Just do it.
Do the thing. Again, like I was talking about way earlier, throwing myself on vlogs and doing I was so cringy. I was so cringy and calling myself an idiot and like demeaning myself and visually and audibly trembling. But I'd never had experience with that. But the only way, it's like driving or like, getting into racing, it's seat time. Like you can go on the simulator as much as you want, but getting like real seat time and just doing the thing is so invaluable. So if you want to get into like content, I feel like a lot of people can hold themselves back being like, I don't have the best camera. I don't have this. I don't have the equipment. I don't have an editor. I don't have blah, blah, blah. And I'll put some of these blocks in front of myself sometimes too. But like, just do the damn thing. Like if you can just throw yourself in it, like it's we were talking about earlier, like the ease of entry. It's so low.
Yeah.
You can just pick up your phone and just do some fun, like whatever feels fun, like just do it. And I think with repetition, you'll hone it in and you'll find stuff that sticks for you, for your followers. Like you'll find stuff that resonates more with you, that feels good, that doesn't feel good. And you can just kind of refine it from there and then get more confident in what you do. And then again, those opportunities will come by and you'll be ready for it at least.
Love that. Yeah. And it's funny how you said seat time. Like
yeah,
that's
it's seat time.
Your way of saying seat time is the like the 10,000 hour rule is.
Do you have that tattoo somewhere?
I don't have the 10,000 hour rule because I'm so ADHD with everything. I jump around. I've not put 10,000 hours into anything.
I think maybe Counter-Strike.
Don't deserve it.
Counter-Strike.
You definitely put 10,000 hours into streaming and gaming.
Yeah, I mean,
general,
maybe.
Sure.
Holy shit.
No, that's tell lie. I put 10,000 hours into gaming.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I just haven't done anything with it. I didn't broadcast it or anything. I reckon I've got 10,000 hours on that thing.
Oh, yeah.
Alone.
What's your top three? Not
three
to pivot, but top three N64 games. I know one is Majora's Mask.
No,
because
Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time.
I gotta leave.
No.
I'm out. What the fuck?
No.
Explain yourself.
Okay, fine. First of all, I try to make
I wish
it
I could
trash Polk style.
I mean, okay. You know what? I think it's better than just the classic Triforce. I'll give you that.
Thank you. That's what I was going for. You got Triforce as well?
No, I've got the like the starting hearts, like the 3 hearts.
Oh,
like
nice.
The pixelated.
Are they full?
No, I'm one down.
Are you one down? What happened to you?
I don't know. There's some kind of I've been knocked down a little bit, There's some kind of deeper meaning, I guess.
Yeah, you couldn't go full 3.
I'll fill it in eventually maybe, but not yet.
That's nice. That's a cute way of thinking about it. No, it's for me, I tell you what, you might appreciate this. The first time I experienced Zelda Ocarina of Time, all right, I was gifted a Nintendo 64 for Christmas by my uncles. It must have been 98 or 90. Yeah, 98. I think I was 5 years old.
Also, I got one.
Yeah.
Gifted for Christmas.
And I remember on the side, there was like this, they all had green, blue, yellow, and Nintendo on the top. And I ripped it off and I saw a Stormtrooper, like Bowser, like the different characters in all of the launch titles, Star Fox. And I didn't even know what it was at this point, but I was like, this gift's fucking awesome. And I don't know why. I don't even know what it is yet. Ripped the whole thing open, see this Nintendo 64. I'm like, what even is this? And my uncles were dead pumped. They could see this one. So they plugged it in and they got me 2 games. Diddy Kong Racing.
Hell yeah.
And Ocarina of Time.
Yep.
And imagine a 5-year-old looking at both boxes. Diddy Kong Racing's clearly like the one. You can see what it is. It's loads of characters and animals in cars and racing. Whereas Zelda's like
A little more low key.
Zelda, sword and shield. And I probably didn't even make out that it was a sword and shield. So I was like, Diddy Kong Racing, let's go. Ripping around, doing my thing. And then eventually they're like, Michael, we got to go to church. We got to do this. And that was probably my first taste of how dare you rip me away from my gaming console. Kind of.
The gamer rage was born.
And we did our thing, we came back, and then that evening, we always used to go to our neighbor's house. My best friend, Soph, and her older brother, James, who's also a very close friend of mine. We would go to their house, and they would have a big party and then invite loads of people over. James had also received a Nintendo 64.
Oh, shit.
And he'd also received Zelda.
He started on Zelda, didn't he?
Yeah. He was 2 years older than me. He'd played enough that he was in the Deku Tree. And his cousin, Emilio, he wasn't the most gamer-centric, let's just say. And he had the slingshot, and all he had to do in this room was smash some pots, get some seeds, and slingshot the eye to get through the next level. It's like teaching you problem solving. And I'm sitting there as a child watching them play this game that I knew I had at home, and Emilio's just pinging seeds all over the place with no direction, no aim. And I'm like, you got to hit this eye, clearly. Like, let's go and let's do this. He never did it. And that lit a fire in me. And I was like, when I get home, I'm going to fucking do this game right. And that's what I did.
Aww.
And I put so many hours into that game. And that really did like open my mind to adventure and like being creative and different ways of problem solving. I think that game taught me more than any teacher in that first like 15, 16 years of my life had ever taught me. So that's why it's Ocarina of Time. It always has been. It always will be. Even the soundtrack is just...
Yeah.
I hear like...
Iconic.
If I need to relax, I'll put Zora's Domain's theme tune while I'm in the shower.
Oh, Zelda's
And I close
Lullaby.
my eyes. Zelda's Lullaby, bangers. So for me, it's impossible to say any game's better.
Okay, that's fair. All right. And you know what? I do feel like Ocarina of Time was my first one too, but it felt like the world was very closed. It was very on rails. It was very, here's the path. But I felt like with Majora's Mask, not only with the time constraint, like you have 3 days to figure it out, and certain things you have to do on certain days.
Yeah.
Not only with that, like you can go and get the masks in any order. I mean, the side masks, the main ones, you need certain ones for certain temples. But like, it felt like the world was way more open.
More open world.
It was way bigger. And I had a way bigger goal of, I got to get all these fucking masks. Like, seemed way bigger. And I think, and it was dark.
Yeah.
It was so dark.
I think that's what put me off it. I was so young.
I loved it. As soon as I missed the GameCube, I kind of skipped the GameCube. I know it's a blind spot for me. But going from, riddle me this, how do you go from Majora's Mask, like the deepest or the darkest, creepiest Zelda you could possibly put out,
to Wind Waker?
Yes. What?
Yeah, that's true.
I couldn't play it. I never played it.
You never played Wind Waker?
No.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't my aesthetic. I wanted
I was
dark
disappointed.
one.
Because I would get my news from games magazines and I'd see that was coming next. And I remember like next Zelda, obviously I'm excited for no matter what, seeing like this cartoon style, very similar to Animal Crossing. And I was a bit like, I want more realism. You know, that was the stage where I was like, oh, make it more real, make it more real, make it more real. And obviously I just got it anyway, begrudgingly, be like, oh, I wish it was a different art style. But it was awesome. It was a sick game. Like out of the gate, it sets you on that. It sets you on the journey actually way better because you're introduced to Terra. I think the name is who ends up being basically Zelda. She gets kidnapped out of the gate live in game as you're playing through. Whereas with Zelda Ocarina of Time, it's a little bit more like
kind of in the background.
Yeah, it's like background story that you're introduced to a little bit. The way she gets kidnapped, you're not even hanging around with her. And she's just like, you go to the castle and oh, she's gone. Yeah. So it was good in that sense. But yeah, Majora's Mask was dark.
Yeah.
And I think that's what put me off. It would stress me out with the timer.
Oh, I loved it. I don't know why. I loved it, but yeah, that was Majora's Mask is in my top 3 for sure.
Okay. So back to the top 3.
Yes, you've got Ocarina of Time.
Yes. Ocarina of Time. It's got to be GoldenEye.
Okay. All right. Fair.
Because that was like when
you were Odd Job though.
Yeah, every time with the hat. If you don't play an Odd Job, come on.
This
You've got an extra one shot, one kill hat.
It's so cheap.
I used to trick shot that thing because it wasn't straight either. It would have a bit of a curve to it.
I feel like this is okay. Like the alarm setting. I feel like who you choose is also very indicative of your personality. If you're an odd shot kind of guy, it's very telling. It's very telling of
He
you.
was small as well. He was hard to hit. I wanted to win. That was it.
Okay.
And I'd play 4-player with my friends. And I think that's why I never got into online as early as I could have done, is because I had the neighborhood and we'd all come over
nice.
and we got competitive.
I miss couch co-op.
Couch co-op's the best.
I want to have a LAN party.
Yeah. Or even just like Halo 3 on Legendary, start to finish, just ripping through it.
Can we have a LAN party?
Down. Let's do it.
I love that.
100%.
Okay.
We'll do it here. We'll set up here one weekend.
Yes, a little local like Halo LAN
Yes.
party or something.
That would be so good.
I miss release
Throwing-
nights.
You are. So it's funny you say that. We're working with EA right now.
Yeah.
Very lucky. It's crazy to even pinch yourself and be like, oh, we're
That's
working
so
with
sick.
EA games. What the fuck?
Wait,
But
EA Sports?
EA Sports. It's in the game.
Also, EA Sports. Big.
Oh, fuck.
You remember that one?
Brr. It would like rumble.
I played so much SSX Tricky.
Did you?
That was one of my fucking favorite
1080.
games.
SXX Tricky was awesome.
It was so. I played the original one and then Tricky, obviously, but I feel like a lot of people are like EA Sports, it's in the game. But every time that game launched, it was EA Sports Big. So that
rumble.
one stuck with me more.
Fair.
I think.
In the game, I used to play FIFA a lot, and that just had
Oh, yeah.
it's in the game and
Yeah.
Tiger Woods. So we got Zelda: Ocarina of Time,
Yeah.
GoldenEye.
Mm-hmm.
Third place is tough. I would never give it to Mario Kart, which I know sounds crazy because a lot of
okay.
people would be pissed with that, but I'd always give it to Diddy Kong Racing.
Yeah. I mean, it's in your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mario 64
Yeah.
is probably where I'd have to go if someone said you can only play 3 games for the rest of time, which 3. But Banjo-Kazooie would be a very, very competitive one with
Yeah.
Super Mario 64.
Fair.
What about you?
Majora's Mask is in there.
Yeah.
I think because it's so close to my heart, it's got to be number one.
Okay.
It's got to be. I feel like Super Mario 64, it was the first game I had on it. It was the first game I played on it. And my mom used to go online. And if we didn't have, also I miss magazines,
Yeah.
like gaming magazines.
I've got
I
one.
miss that.
Keep going.
I've got a couple. We need to do a little like zine swap or something. Yeah. Can we bring them back? Can we do like a quarterly zine or something? Yes.
So like almost like a show and tell show needs to exist, but like even that thing.
Oh my God.
Like we just use it as
Dang.
props.
I do love that. Contents. Wait, do they have Clay Fighter 63 1/3? If you have a cartridge of that anywhere, it is worth so. Oh wait, no, the Sculptor's Cut. I collect N64 games, and I have for as long as I can remember. I still have a massive stash at home.
I need to come see this.
You have to. I've got a lot, and the one game that's always eluded me, I've never been able to find, is Clay Fighter 63 1/3 Sculptor's Cut.
Okay.
It is worth an ungodly amount of money right now.
There'll be one
It's
line in someone's cupboard
crazy.
somewhere as well. And
I know. It's crazy. But there's an F1 game, F1 World Grand Prix.
We have an F1 game for the N64 in that
What the
cupboard.
fuck?
Yeah, they went back all the way in the 90s.
So yeah, Majora's Mask, Super Mario 64 has to be on there somewhere just because it's so close to my heart. And then number 3 would be so closely tied between Glover.
I never played Glover.
It was such an offbeat, random game that like no one's heard of. You're a glove on a ball and it's puzzle
And that
solving.
became like the final boss on Smash. Was that the same
Oh.
glove? Was that?
I don't know if it was the same.
It wasn't
Maybe.
the same one. Okay.
Maybe it was inspired. I don't know. I actually don't know.
I don't know either.
But it's tied with Glover or Snowboard Kids.
Snowboard Kids. Yes.
I loved Snowboard
I used to
Kids
play as
so
Slash.
much.
If anyone else in
Yes.
the street tried to pick Slash, I'd be like, my
I was
console.
what was the girl? Wendy was the nerdy one.
Yeah, and then there was Nancy,
Yes, Nancy was the blonde.
Tommy,
Yes, Tommy.
Jam. Can you remember the
I
unlockable?
love this.
Can you remember the unlockable character?
Oh my God.
The
No.
ninja.
I don't know.
I didn't
remember
know
that.
for years. I didn't know that those extra levels existed because you had to complete them all.
Yeah.
And then another one would It was like I don't know, Disneyland was like the last level you got, and then you had to unlock more. Oh my God. Yeah, you got Cinnobin, and you unlocked like the leaf board and the ice board.
Oh, I remember seeing it, but I never got it.
I didn't in the young age. The first time I played through it, I never actually completed it. It was a hard game.
It was hard.
I'm so glad you've brought that out and put that in.
It was one of my favorite games. I have both of them. If you ever want to play it.
Do you have two?
Yes.
Oh, fuck, I remember so vividly dragging my parents around every game shop in the Northeast to buy Snowboard Kids 2.
Yeah.
And we could never find it.
It was
to this day, never played it.
It was hard.
Never played it.
Okay, so when we have our LAN party,
we've got to
I'm gonna bring Snowboard Kids 2. The soundtrack too.
Oh, I can play it.
I can hear it. I can hear it. It's
ready?
Kind of go. It kind of slaps, honestly.
Dun, 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 dun. No,
that's Mario Kart. That's Mario Kart. It is some like, I don't know, chiptune ass like.
Oh, it's so good.
It was so sick. But yeah,
I got so good at that game. That one of my neighbors, Johnny, he was the younger brother of one of my good friends, Ross. Me and Johnny were good friends as well. But Johnny he was competitive, but he was that guy who cried if he lost.
No. Johnny. Is Johnny listening?
Might be. Johnny. I'm sorry. And we used to I was so good that I could hang back and just last minute win. One of my favorite things to do. It's so toxic. I'd love to parachute someone as they're about to cross the finish line.
The ice thing.
And they think they're going to win and they're like, oh, no, parachuted. You got to parachute them just before a jump.
Oh so my God. That for so long. My favorite was putting a rock right at the lift.
Yes. That was the fucking funniest. What? You're on the lift and
you're entering it and then they just right in front get fucked up.
The noises the characters would make when they got tripped up.
That was so good.
God, what game.
I missed that. We'll play it.
Yeah, I'm so down.
We'll play it. Holy shit.
So
that's the top three.
Between
Glover and Snowboard Kids.
I'll give you a joint third on that.
Yeah.
Did you have a controller you played with? Like the color?
Yeah, I had I just had a regular gray one for most of it, but I had the Rumble Pack on it.
Okay, yeah.
And then I got the Atomic Purple one. But so we didn't have money for the officially licensed extra controllers. We got the third party, the thick ones. Yeah. I had a gold one and a red one. And I just loved the gold one because it was just super ridiculous. But we played it so much that the gold started to wear down. So it was just this shitty brown color underneath. But it was so near and dear to my heart. I played so much Mario Party on it where, oh my God, do you remember the game where you're going down a raft? You're a raft down a river and you're battling someone else and you need to go like this.
I don't think I do.
Push the raft to one direction or the other.
Yeah. And it's just
shit.
Worn it out.
The amount of blisters that I would get was so insane. Did you know that Nintendo actually ended up selling, because of that, because people are getting so many blisters, they ended up selling a glove? You could call and complain that you were getting blisters from using it, and they would mail you a glove.
Wow.
And I want to get one of these gloves so bad. But my mom was a nurse. So she would just bandage us up and then we would just keep going.
Just pre-UFC fight kind of thing. It's just all right, we're ready to go.
No time to waste, honestly.
So my Mario Party equivalent, I was never huge at Mario Party. I'd play it when I went to a friend's house. Dominate, naturally, every time.
Shout out.
Pokemon Stadium had a mini game section.
Yes.
That was my Mario Party.
I will shit on you in any Pokemon Stadium game. I swear to God. The Chansey game.
Yeah. That Remember the Order? Singing? Was that one? Or was that... No, that was Jigglypuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What was the Chansey game again? Catching the Egg?
Yeah. Oh, that's a newer one, I think. I think that's a newer one.
They had the Rattata running on that...
Yes.
And you got to jump.
Where you slice the...
Yeah.
Yep.
Licky tongues running around.
With sushi where you get the... Yeah. I'll kick your ass.
Dude.
I was so good at those.
Same.
Oh my God.
I back myself. This is one thing I want to bring back. Is Did you see the 1v1? You may not have done, but Banks from FaZe Clan and Nature from 100 Thieves did a 1v1 on Rust, original Modern Warfare 2 quite recently. And they had a lot of online beef with it, being like, you know, Nature being a professional with X Games gold medals against Banks, never competed once in esports, but just
played a lot though.
Yeah, exactly. And it was 1v1, Rust, snipers only, radar on. And Banks was like, because they did a podcast before, he was like, I don't think you have any idea how much I'm going to shit on you. Nature's like, no, I'm a professional COD player. So it's like this whole battle. Banks, I went to the event live. It was quite close to it. He annihilated him. It was like borderline hard to watch.
Oh my God. Well, he's got something to prove.
Yeah.
He's got something to prove.
And it was 20-5 in the end, the score. 20 kills to 5. But it was 6-0 before Nate Shot got off. It was a hard watch. Nate Shot's like a hero of mine as well. So I was like rooting for him. It was tough. But it lit something in my belly. It was like, I want that competitive edge back. And I can't compete on COD, Fortnite nowadays. But one thing I definitely back myself against anyone at is those retro games. Like, give me a shot on Snowboard Kids against anyone. I'm going in confident. I'm going in hot. Pokemon Stadium mini games. Worms.
Oh my God. I didn't play a lot of Worms, but they have a new one. They like redid it. Worms
Did
HD
they?
or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Worms. I'm in. Sonic Adventure Battle 2 grinding races.
God.
I'm in. Like the game. I know you missed the GameCube era, but all of that. Yeah. So I think we should bring that back.
I would love that.
Just get like a party going where everyone signs up. Like, what's your game? What's your 1v1? Like, you're going to dominate on from back in the day. We'll have them all ready. Get a little forfeit system going.
Yeah, even just Pokemon Stadium battles.
Yeah.
Like picking your party.
Oh, that would be fucking sick.
You know what I loved so much was when you were so into like Game Boy, like you played like Pokemon Red, Blue, or Yellow, and you had your party and it was super strong. And then you connect it and you battle in Pokemon Stadium with your party.
You could see them come alive.
Shut
for
the
hell
up. That
Nothing's
was wild as a kid.
Nothing was better than that as a kid.
That was so sick.
Can you remember playing just your Pokemon game on the screen, like through that cartridge?
Oh,
thing?
yeah.
And you had like that big thick border of Doug duos or Doug trios that would just be
Like
forever
lined
there as
it,
you're playing through. Yeah, those are the
So
days.
sweet.
It's not the same anymore. I think, I don't know whether it's because we're different, we're older or what, and you've got more responsibilities, but something about gaming now doesn't hit the same.
I think it's a bit of that. And I feel like it's a bit of we lost, like we were talking about like couch co-op.
Yeah.
Where people could just come over and let's play some GoldenEye and yada yada. It's like living in, I'm thinking of now where I live in LA. My friends are scattered everywhere. Like some people might live like 15 minutes or like on the other side, like 45 minutes from me. And people are so busy, different schedules, trying to just like put together like, hey, let's have a game night, come over when we could just play online too. Like the gift of being able to play online. We didn't have any of that. It was in the era of like you come home when the street lights turn off kind of type energy, you know? Like it's just such a different, I don't know.
We'll bring it back. And you said the midnight release. So that's one of the pitches we've gone with EA. It's like, let's do those parties again. So when you guys have new games coming out, can we please throw a party where it's midnight release? Anyone who comes to the party gets early access to the game and so on, as if you would when you queued to get the game early.
I want to be involved in any way I possibly can.
Let's do it.
I miss that. I did so many midnight releases.
Same.
Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah.
There was one where it was at Best Buy. Dude, Canada does it different also.
Better?
So sweet.
Really?
So sweet.
Okay, hit me with it.
There was one that I went to. I can't remember the game, but I was like third in line. I think the store opens up at like 6.
Sweat.
I went at like midnight. I'm there overnight. And then as people started to pile in behind me, someone brought like on their truck, they bought like a really light futon. It was just 2 seats, like a little love seat. They set it up. They brought a little TV and had it on a generator. And they were literally just playing like N64 games, sitting in line, waiting for this midnight. It's like 4:00 in the morning. I went to Tim Hortons. I got us like coffees. I got coffee for like 15 people in line. I just stocked up on donuts. And everyone just came together and like we're hanging out, like eating donuts at 4:00 in the morning, playing N64 games in line. Like so sweet. I miss that shit.
You could rally the troops and do that again. Let's say
100%.
in the unlikely or unfortunate scenario where GameStop's closing and it's like the last day it's going to be open. You could rally people to do that. Let's do a midnight queue.
10,000%.
Get in. I think thousands of people will probably show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was, yeah. And so, yeah, that's what we want to bring back. So I think
love that.
even just the concept of saying, right, like the way people would organize a poker night. It's just like, okay, we're going to do a game night and it's going to be the first Friday of every month, for example, or whatever. And we're going to be this week's the same way they do Rise and Shine. It's like have a theme. It's like it's going to be N64 themed.
Yeah.
Bring your N64, bring your controllers, and we're going to have a good time.
I love that.
Yeah, we need to do that. We keep saying it.
Yeah.
I am the expert at saying this is what we need to do and then not doing it.
I'm here to fuel the fire. I'm gonna pour gasoline on it. Put me in, coach. I'm fucking. I miss this shit just as much as you, and just as much as I know a lot of people do.
Well, Jake is expecting us to do. He's like, it's not going to cost us anything. We have the venue. This venue is on hand for us to use whenever, as long as it's outside of work times and they don't have another event. So
Let's do it.
We've got power.
Yeah.
We don't need internet because it's pre-internet. it's LAN.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to do that.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna go from we need to do that to we're doing this on this date.
Yeah. I think we should just do that, to be honest. Okay, what's first, though? What's like the opener? Is it a massive Mario Kart tournament? Is it a GoldenEye tournament? Or is it just free range, bring in Nintendo, and we're going to play Nintendo games?
I feel like it's got to be something that is like easily accessible, but something that people aren't too sweaty at. Like Smash would be too sweaty.
Way too sweaty.
You can't do that.
No.
Snowboard Kids, too niche. Unfortunately.
True.
Unfortunately, too niche. I think Mario Kart is a good like starting ground. Yeah. A lot of people have played it. It's pretty accessible, like pretty straightforward, not a lot of crazy shit. Like, I think that's a good place to start.
That's
but
a
then
great
maybe also have like a little side one of we could do Pokemon Stadium games on the side.
Definitely.
Like just a little
you
treat.
Have like the main table equivalent of like the highlight. And then I'd love it to like develop into the same way AGDQ and the speedrunning community go, where you have, right, everyone's here because we love the retro games, but now let's showcase a different element of it that you might not have seen. We've got a 1v1 on Ocarina of Time speedrunning and just show them what that is in real life. I think that would be cool. Yeah.
I used to watch a lot of speedrunners.
Same.
Specifically for like Zelda.
Yeah.
What's his name? Jodenstone?
I don't remember the names very well.
Oh my gosh, this is bringing me so far back. It was like 10 years ago or something crazy. I don't know. It was a long time ago. But I would watch Jodenstone and oh my gosh. Nope, it's gone. It's eluded me. There was like 3 people I would watch that were kind of competing with each other to get like the fastest speed run on Ocarina of Time. And it's crazy. It's just like a game that came out in like 98 or something. People are still like trying to break and still having joy in.
Because
it's
never ending. And I don't know if you ever watch a good one for you. I think if you like the Halo side, is watch the Halo. There's these videos I watch on YouTube where it's the development of X game speedrunning. And it's like shows you the milestones people hit to be like, oh, you can shave an hour off if you do this. And then everyone, like the world record then suddenly gets so much quicker and everyone's doing this new strat. Halo's got a really good development run, Halo 2 specifically, as to how you can like skip levels entirely and stuff and how people figure it out. It's a good watch. But when you said Zelda, this is a slightly savage video, but it's also hilarious of in the middle of one of the Games Done Quick festivals, someone's speedrunning Zelda. And he sat there with a Link costume on, doing his thing. And obviously in that, you're mashing the buttons to get across the map quick. And Link's making those noises that he does. Like, like constantly. And as this guy's like mashing through and donations are getting read out, there's this girl, bless her, in the crowd knitting a blanket.
Aww.
And no one's asked her why she's knitting this blanket. And she kind of feels the need to be like, all right, and she starts just chatting. Like, I'm going to tell you guys why I'm knitting this blanket. And she goes on this heartfelt story about, I think it might have been her grandma who died of cancer or something like that. But it's like just the wrong time to be saying it. And I'm going to have to send you. And it's crazy how in the background you still got this guy like she's like half in tears.
Oh,
and,
no.
You know, a lot of the guys who go to these festivals, especially in the 80s, are relatively introverted. No one in the room
knows how to handle
knows
this.
how to handle it. And this girl's just going off, telling this like trauma dump story.
Honey.
Even the guy who's doing the speedruns. I'll have to send you. And then when she's sending them the story, there's like a pause for a while when no one does anything. And very fortunately, somebody goes over and consoles her, and then.
Jeez. Yeah, it's a Wild West.
It's like you can't help but feel bad, but then you also can't help but see like the funny, awkward side of it.
I also love All Games Done Quick is also for charity, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They
I love
raise
that.
hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
I think it might even be in the millions.
Crazy.
Like, and it's just every different game that's possibly speedrun. And they do twice. They do summer AGDQ and autumn, I think it is.
Dude, the power of gamers to make a difference in that way across the board. Like we were talking about just charity earlier. We would play like random games and then stream and kick ourselves in the face to raise money for a children's hospital. Like, you know, people who are speed running a game from the 90s and breaking it in ways just to set records and also raising money for charity. Like it's the power that people with a platform and people who are just like online in any capacity, the power you have to make a difference and raise money for something like it's crazy.
It is.
The accessibility of that is so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Back to what you were saying earlier of like what your next ikigai or as such would be. I would like to like transition
To see me go into the presidency.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
If someone actually gave you that, I'm curious. If someone said, so I know like these hypotheticals are always pointless to an extent, but if someone said, here's a button, and if you press it, you're going to wake up tomorrow and you're going to be the president of the United States.
Oh hell no.
You wouldn't press it?
I don't think I know.
You can always.
I think I would
you can
do.
always quit.
I'm just gonna pass a bunch of laws and then quit.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I'm the one.
No.
I don't think I'm the one. I think I have a good heart. I know I would have good intentions. You can't have everyone love you.
No, it's impossible. It's the impossible job.
Yeah.
So then if that button could just be like, you're going to have anything next in your career or the land of opportunity, I am curious as to what that would be. And before you answer, one thing my mind went to earlier is that you could still live stream stuff with cars. Have you done that yet? Have you live streamed from a car, from a vehicle in any capacity?
I've done some car washes.
Okay.
Which is fun because I feel like people like to see the progress of something.
Yeah.
So I've done some car washes. But yeah, I just didn't know what the situation around like driving and streaming was. So I feel like I never really dived into it.
Yeah.
And it was always something that was more, I would create like content around it and share it. I felt like I wanted to kind of be in the moment driving.
Okay.
For stuff like that.
So it's retroactive as opposed to
live.
live.
And I've had some opportunities where people have reached out to ask about live streaming at events, but I think the safety aspect comes in for me personally. So unfortunately, that's something that holds me back a little bit. And I would rather do curated content or something post event rather than live because I still struggle with that. I'd rather do it from like my house.
Yeah,
so.
That's fair. And then you're in your safe space. Whereas, yeah that's true. Because like doing races up Angel's Crest with multiple car angles and like having a passenger live
kind of a liability
produce.
too. I don't know.
Oh, really?
I don't know, maybe
Illegally driving up Angel's Crest.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, right.
But on the like ikigai comment, if I knew that, I feel like I would have my direction and I wouldn't be confused or I wouldn't be unsure of what's next if I could answer that.
Yeah.
I feel like I have general directions in which I'm going. Like I said earlier, I love being on camera. So I've had some acting opportunities. I've had some like regular series opportunities. I've had doing like random. I just love any part of a production.
Yeah.
Like if I can show up and be a cog in the wheel, I just got to jump on camera, say my lines, and everything else is being done in the background. I love being a part of a system that's like everyone's functioning to a goal. Everyone just wants this to be like the best version of content that we can make. I love that shit. So if I can be involved in that, I love producing. I love putting stuff together. I love solving problems and sourcing cars, finding locations, finding the right people. Love that shit. Anything to do with production and being on camera. But like, you know, I don't need to be public. I like it sometimes, but when it's in my control, I guess. But any opportunity in that. We talked actually briefly off camera about voiceover stuff. I love doing voiceover stuff, radio stuff. My dream is to be in a like Gran Turismo or Forza game, being like the radio announcer or some kind of voice in a game is a absolute dream. And
I
now,
could see that being like, if you wanted that.
Yeah.
That, because at the moment, F1, for example, the F1 game comes out every single year. They've got AI to an extent, or at least like a nameless voice going in. It's not someone that has an influence. Like you could sell that. Like, hey, I've got 730,000 people that follow me on Twitch and however many hundreds of thousands of people on other platforms. Let me be the voice and I'll push people towards that. And it's like, it's them fishing in new ponds. I feel like that's quite an easy sell. As long as you get to the right person. I always find that's the hardest.
Yeah.
Like you might have the best idea, but you pitch it to the wrong person in the company. It like feels so disheartening. It's like, I can't do anything about it. It's EA Games. It's a massive conglomerate. Like
100%.
There's thousands of employees.
It's just finding the right person. And that's it. Is like we talked to earlier about I honed my skills. I know what I'm good at. I know what makes me excited to wake up in the morning and I'm ready for it. It's just keeping it open for opportunities like that. You know, something like that came across my desk. I'm fucking pumped. But I'm also aligning myself for stuff like that. But I'm not completely disheartened if it doesn't come around because I feel like I've got my eggs in many baskets and I'm just trying to keep open to what's next. But that's definitely of interest. Done a little bit of acting. It would be cool to do more of that. But now I've got a full sleeve. So I don't know how that's going to
how's that
play out.
We haven't spoke since you got back from Japan. And actually, one of the big things that you were going out to Japan for was to complete the sleeve or at least add to it. Is it done?
Well, it's pretty much.
Dude, that's so sick.
Pretty
You've
much
added a
done.
lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much there. I have like one little spot up here that I need to touch up, but.
How long were the sessions?
I mean, I did like 1, 2, 3. I think that was maybe 3-4 hours or so. The one up here was like 3 hours. The back of my arm was 4 hours. It's kind of varied, kind of all over the place.
Do you like the sessions? Like
No.
Yours are quite like they're really shaded and there's a lot of area to cover.
Yes.
Whereas most of mine are very fine and little and dinky. So
like this little bee situation was fine. I don't care about that. But I'm gonna tell you right now, if anyone is planning on doing the ditch,
it sucks.
It's like I had to go podcast. Like I had to throw in my AirPods and like go somewhere else mentally, emotionally. It's brutal. And the elbow, anything elbow related, not recommended.
Yeah.
It sucks.
I'm a very veiny character and that even the concept of getting a tattoo over any of my veins hurts me. Yeah. But now that you've said it, is it weird that I'm like, I want to know what that feels like?
Do it. Do it. Do it.
All right, we'll do a 1v1 on Snowboard Kids, and the loser has to get a tattoo.
I've still got another ditch.
You've both got ditches. If you don't have to throw up the ditch, but I'll throw the ditch in the hat.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I don't know what I'll get, but something to do with Snowboard Kids as the ditch.
I would do
one of the boards or something.
Oh my god! I would do a Snowboard Kids tattoo.
There we go.
1000%.
So even if you
the little snowman, like the little snowman dude,
you get turned into a just slash the whole character on my
just
back.
fully slash. Get a full back piece.
Yeah, slash pull on a trick.
Yeah.
And this massive nose. All of the characters
they
have
had huge
noses
noses,
like the size of their heads.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. We definitely need to do
love that.
Some sort of 1v1, spark up that competitive edge on the retro games. The loser has to get a tattoo.
Get a very specific N64 tattoo.
We'll have them on standby as well. Do the whole thing in the content piece. Wrap it all up.
We'll have an artist on deck.
I know
Ready.
Yatsil, one of my friends I've been hiking with. She's an amazing tattoo artist. I'll hit her up and see if she's down.
I kind of love this. I kind of love this idea.
A lot of tattoo artists are scared to do it on stream for some reason. I don't know why. I think it's like almost against the union or whatever in the UK to tattoo someone outside of a studio, like the safe environment.
Oh, okay.
So,
I mean,
I think here it'll be.
I think here is fine. I think as long as they take precaution, whatever they need to do to like.
Is what I mean by here. No one gives a fuck out here.
Oh, no one really.
It's
I
the
don't
Wild
feel like
West.
people really care
Yeah.
here.
So that's I'm down.
I'm down for that. Yeah.
Snowball kits 1v1.
Yeah.
We'll set the rules. How many races we want to do.
Yeah.
How we want to play it. Points. I would say very similar to F1 maybe. Points per race.
Yeah, and then at the end, whoever
prepare to get a snowboard kid's tattoo.
I'm fucking down.
That means you're gonna lose.
That's so cute. But maybe this is my excuse because maybe I just really want a snowboard kid's tattoo, so I'm gonna throw it and be like, oh no.
Oh, fuck. Well, okay, well maybe we need to do it different then, because I think we both seem
We
to
both want it. Why don't we
tattoos.
skip the middle, man? Just get
But
those.
there's got to be one that's like a negative to an extent. It's got to be like, oh, I didn't want that.
We'll think of something.
Okay,
We'll think of something.
let's do it.
I'm down.
Perfect. On that note, I
Yeah.
think we've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah. I think
Is
we've
it-
done pretty good.
Is there anything that you want to cover that we haven't covered?
No, I think I'm just excited for what's next. We've talked a lot in many different ways of keeping yourself open for opportunities, and I'm open. I don't know. I feel like I've been doing a lot of different stuff lately that I haven't really done in the past, like the whole driving thing and covering more automotive events. And, I have 3 cars that I'm trying to build out for different reasons. I want to do more track stuff. I am planning on streaming more and again now that I've got my sim rig set up. So I'm just open for what's next, and I'm stoked to be here. I'm just happy to be here. That's it.
I love that. And it's exciting though to like reactivate that huge community that you've got. And like you say, the fact that you still go live and you get hundreds of people turn up. That's cool.
That's ridiculous.
Watch this space. If there's anything ever that we can support with, you know where we are, quite literally.
Quite literally.
Come hunt us down.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, thank
Sick.
you very much for your time. I really
Yeah.
appreciate you actually offering to come on. It's we're early in this, and trying to find guests isn't easy, especially guests that I'm like, I want to know more. And that's what's we're trying to leave as the barrier to entry, is like, don't just throw guests in there that we don't know and we're not really sure if they're going to give a good story. So yeah, if there's anyone ever that you think, oh, you should go do a podcast and chat more on X, Y, or Z, we're open.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I've got a lot of recommendations. I'm glad that you guys are foreshadowing having F1 Ellie on. I think she's going to be an amazing guest to talk to. And it's amazing to have seen her live streaming and then like making the rounds on TikTok and like doing really, really well on the content side, and then taking a step back, and she's a fucking mechanic.
It's crazy, isn't
She's
it?
in school. Like, she's doing something tangible and having tangible skills to go along with everything else that she's doing. I'm infinitely inspired by her, and I love watching her journey. So I'm excited that that's a guest that you have coming up.
No, she's coming in next month, and it's gonna be good. And for someone, actually, the way I'm gonna put it to her is for someone who got famous for having a colander on her head, like the land of opportunity with what we said is like, it's just so crazy. Obviously, she's prepared. She's from like a big marketing background, but then to the world of the internet and just do it, Spark, like anything can happen. And a video of you putting a colander on your head could be the one that goes viral and thrusts you into the situation that you deserve to be in. Like,
It's very cool.
Wild world.
It's infinite opportunities out there.
There you
So
go.
yeah, like we said earlier, just do the thing. Throw a colander on your head, make videos, start streaming, just do it.
Run for president.
Run for president potentially. Yeah, just do it.
Yeah. We've got, so honestly, there's so many more avenues we can go down, but I think maybe it's best if we have you on again in the future.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I'll let you got a party to go to tonight, so
Cool.
I'll
Yeah.
let you do that.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited. I mean, I always love talking to you. I feel like I always feel invigorated, and it's nice to just talk shop and get to hang out with you again.
Same.
And I'm super stoked for our land party. So
Let's do it. That's the thing. As long as the kinetic energy keeps passing on, that's what we've got to work on.
yeah.
And then we'll do that land party, and then we'll do another, and then another.
And we'll just build.
All right.
All right.
Let's do it.